South Heaven Gate, Heavenly Court, God of Heaven. Why is it like this, with the exception of the Jade Emperor? Long Fei muttered. South Heaven Gate, Heavenly Court, God of Heaven. Why is it like this, with the exception of the Jade Emperor? Long Fei muttered. None of the 3 god missions had been completed before. After failing hundreds of times, there was no need to talk about what came after. The next mission would only appear after the pass through South Heaven Gate had been completed. Long Fei asked, "What are the conditions required to complete this mission?" The senior brother said, 50 contribution points. You can join as well, but... He looked at Long Fei and laughed. No team from the swordsman rank would want you. I'm very curious. Exactly who brought you into ancient antiquity? Swordsman rank. How can I enter the ancient antiquity? In the entire ancient antiquity, even the followers' cultivation levels were higher than Long Fei's. The swordsman rank was too low. Long Fei laughed. I am someone else's follower. The senior brother was relieved and said, That's more like it. I was just saying the swordsman rank. Just as he was about to continue, his eyes flashed. The goddess senior sister is here. Phoenix also said, Hubby, quickly look. The beautiful big sister is here. Goddess, senior sister Lu. Too beautiful, my god. If only I could be intimate with her. Fangzi, your sister. If you dare to blaspheme my goddess, I'll kill you. It's so beautiful. She's really just like a fairy. Even a divine space wouldn't be able to find such a beautiful woman. I must work hard to enter the inner sect. I must enter the Sword Elf Mountain. At the mission entrance, Lu Luoshi walked towards the mission window in large strides, without even glancing at the disciples around her. Dressed in a tight suit and with a ponytail, she walked straight to the mission window. Everyone around him made way. Moreover, it was the type of distance that one would need to retreat 2 to 3 meters. He didn't dare to approach. He was afraid that he would desecrate his goddess. Lu Luoshi walked to the window, conversed a bit, and then turned and left. Everyone was looking at her. The entire hall was incredibly quiet as they waited for her to leave the task hall. Following that, he rushed forward like a swarm of bees. Which mission did senior sister accept? Passing through the South Heaven Gate, the goddess senior sister accepted the mission. This is her 3rd attempt, right? The goddess senior sister is just not the same. She won't stop until this mission is completed. Is she alone again this time? She's always been alone, and she still wants to be her partner. Phoenix watched as Lu Luoshi left, and she immediately ran out. Long Fei was startled and asked, Where are you going? Phoenix went to chase after Lu Luoshi. Long Fei also quickly chased after him. In the center of the plaza, the little red face of Phoenix caught up to Lu Luoshi. Spreading her hands, she stopped Lu Luoshi and giggled. Beautiful sister, this mission that you have accepted is too dangerous. You need a strong and powerful bodyguard. Lu Luoshi looked at the Phoenix, which was 10 years old, and it was exquisite and cute, making people fall in love with it with a single glance. Lu Luoshi slightly squatted down and said with a smile, Do you want to protect me? Phoenix shook her head and said, It's not me. It's my husband. Who can protect you? Pucci, your husband? How old are you, and you already have a husband? Lu Luoshi could not hold back his laughter. Those who saw her smile were stunned. He was stupefied. He had never seen Lu Luoshi smile before. Tempting 10,000 cities. Phoenix's face was serious as she said, Beautiful big sister, can you also be my husband's woman? He can protect you. He's the strongest man in the world. She was very serious. Moreover, Phoenix did not exaggerate at all. That was what she thought. In her eyes, Long Fei was the strongest. Long Fei caught up with her, looked at Phoenix, and glared at her, then said, Bing Bing, come here. Lu Luoshi looked at Phoenix and said, You're called Bing Bing. I'll remember you. Hurry over to your brother's place. She glanced at Long Fei. Their eyes met. In that instant, Lu Luoshi's heart thumped for a moment. It was a very strange feeling, as if she had been struck by lightning. However, taking another look, she laughed at herself, but her heart calmed down again. Lu Luoshi, what's wrong with you? After he retracted his gaze, Lu Luoshi turned around and prepared to leave. Long Fei said, "It's too dangerous for you to go alone. If possible, bring me along." Very direct. There was no hesitation. But, without waiting for Lu Luoshi to reject, the people around them all started to laugh. "Ha ha ha! Ha! Kid, don't you have a little tough spot? What is your cultivation level, that the trash of the swordsman rank would dare to say such words? Kid, are you insulting my goddess?" Many people were laughing at him, mocking Long Fei's ignorance, ridiculing his arrogance. A mission that no one had completed in 100 years. He, a swordsman rank man, actually said that he could help. How overestimating was this? The jeers from the surroundings did not stop, but Long Fei was extremely serious. He looked at Lu Luoshi, waiting for his answer. Quests were just like instance dungeons. He believed that there must be a bug to find. Lu Luoshi said with his mouth wide open, "No." The moment the words came out of his mouth, a group of people walked out from behind Long Fei, and a disciple pushed Long Fei away with one hand. "Scram! Don't block our god's sword child's way." A group of people dressed in gorgeous clothes walked out. Their armband was different from the armband for outer court disciples. They were all inner court disciples. The surrounding outer sect disciples immediately stepped aside, lowering their heads, not daring to look them in the eye. Long Fei was pushed away and looked up. A man shouted, "What are you looking at? You're courting death. Even an outer sect trash like you dares to think of doing a mission with Senior Sister Lu? A toad wanted to eat a swan? Brat, take good care of yourself by peeing, okay?" Scram. After he finished speaking, someone turned around and bowed to a man wearing a purple crown and said with a smile, "Young master, the mission has been accepted." Sky Sword walked over, looked at Lu Luoshi, and smiled. "Junior sister, I will also take the South Heaven Gate mission. How about we go together? I'll give you all the rewards of completing the mission." Lu Luoshi said coldly, "No need, I like someone." With that, he turned around and was about to leave. One of the disciples immediately went forward to block the way and said, "Senior Sister Lu, my young master is not done yet. Don't be in a hurry to reject him." Heavenly Sword. "Junior sister, I know that you want to exchange for Seek Mirroress with points. As long as you nod your head, I can immediately give you 1,000 points. It's fine if you don't want to accept it, but at least let me help you finish the mission. With my strength, in addition to your cultivation, it shouldn't be hard for me." Lu Luoshi was still very determined. "No need." Tian Jin's eyes narrowed as he took a step forward. Phoenix placed her hands on her waist and asked angrily, "Can't you hear what others are saying? Beautiful sis doesn't need your help. She wants to be with my husband." "Right, hubby." Her eyes opened wide as she looked at Long Fei. At the same time, the group of God Sword Child turned around and looked at Long Fei as well. Phoenix was naturally pure, kind, and naive. She did not understand how the world felt, nor did she understand how she pushed Long Fei to the edge of the cliff with a single word, "just now." Phoenix was naturally pure, kind, and naive. She did not understand how the world felt, nor did she understand how she pushed Long Fei to the edge of the cliff with a single word, "just now." This was a pig's teammate. It was all a scam. However, Long Fei remained calm. Facing the gazes of contempt and hatred from the inner sect disciples, he did not show any signs of shock. It paused for a few seconds. The surroundings quieted down. The nearby outer court disciples were all discussing in low voices. "This guy is in trouble. If he dares to offend the God Sword Child, he is probably done for." Who in God Sword Child doesn't know about this? The young genius of the Sword Elf Mountain. His talent in ancient times combined with the ancient heavenly sword. That's why he's called God Sword Child. A dregs of swordsman rank dares to snatch girls from the God Sword Child. His little life is coming to an end. Serves him right. He can't even be considered toad. At most, he's just a toad tadpole, yet he dares to act tough in front of the senior sister. Serves him right if he dies. God Sword Child was very famous. The young genius had outstanding sword skills, and his fused sky sword was even more so incomparably sharp, comparable to an existence of a holy artifact. Some elders asserted that even if he could not reach the ascendant stage, he could still step into the Emperor realm. This evaluation was extremely high. At the same time, he had the strength to do so. God Sword Child stared at Long Fei and paused for a few seconds. Suddenly, Poochie, ha ha, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. And then, the inner sect disciples beside him all started laughing. Although they did not know what the God Sword Child was laughing about, they were all laughing loudly. God Sword Child stopped laughing, looked at Lu Luoxi, and said, "Junior sister, you aren't really going to team up with this trash, right?" Lu Luoxi frowned. She had never intended to follow a group and travel together. It was just that Phoenix, who was beside him, was too adorable, so she said a few more words. Now that Phoenix had said this, she did not know what to say, because she knew very well what kind of person God Sword Child was. Without waiting for Lu Luoxi to speak, the center of God Sword Child's brows slightly wrinkled, and said, "If it's someone that Junior Sister has chosen, I definitely won't stop him. But if this fellow wasn't the one Junior Sister chose, he would have shamelessly followed you. Junior Sister, don't worry, I will immediately make him lie on the ground and not be able to get up." Either Lu Luoxi admitted that she was the one who found Long Fei, or God Sword Child killed Long Fei. The inner court disciples killing the outer court disciples didn't need any explanation. Just like how Lin Yuan killed the test disciple, killing him in front of Elder of Inner House. Elder of Inner House acted as if he did not see anything, because the lives of inner disciples were even lower than grass. Phoenix also looked at Lu Luoxi, her two big eyes blinking. Long Fei also looked at Lu Luoxi and said indifferently, "It doesn't matter if Senior Sister doesn't agree, I still have the ability to protect myself." Long Fei didn't want to make things difficult for Lu Luoxi. Inner court disciple? God Sword Child? Genius of the Sword Dao? Sorry, Long Fei had never been afraid before. Self-defense. You? Ha ha ha. Kid, do you know who you're talking to? God Sword Child's voice became heavy as he stared at Long Fei, his eyes filled with killing intent. Long Fei still maintained his calm expression. He wasn't afraid in the slightest. Lu Luoxi felt the killing intent in God Sword Child's eyes, and his eyebrows tightened. He took a step forward and said, "He is my teammate." Huh. Long Fei was secretly surprised. God Sword Child slightly narrowed his eyes, looked at Lu Luoxi and laughed. "Since you are the one who Junior Sister has chosen, I won't make it difficult for you no matter what." Although he said this, the killing intent in his eyes became thicker. Lu Luoxi pulled the Phoenix's small hand, glanced at Long Fei, and said, "Let's go." Phoenix giggled and jumped up and down. Long Fei knew that Lu Luoxi was helping him and smiled. When he took a step forward, God Sword Child placed a hand on Long Fei's shoulder. His strength sank. She held Long Fei down all of a sudden. Long Fei did not move. Lu Luoxi immediately asked, "Senior brother Heavenly Sword, what do you want to do?" The corner of God Sword Child's mouth curled as he smiled and said, "Don't worry, Junior Sister. I won't do anything to him." Then, God Sword Child leaned into Long Fei's ear and coldly said, "Boy, congratulations, you've successfully offended me. You dare to steal my woman. Do you know the price you have to pay for provoking me? You can't live, you can't die. Just you wait." The voice was sinister, and the killing intent in his eyes was exceptionally strong. Just as he was about to leave, Long Fei suddenly took a step forward and coldly said, "You better scram further away from this place. Otherwise you will regret being born in this world. I'll remember it." Similarly, Long Fei's voice became even more sinister, as if she came from hell. Tian Jin's mind went cold, and he did not know why, but he felt a chill run down his spine. He was stunned. When he reacted, Long Fei had already taken a few steps forward, clenching his fists tightly. His eyes revealed a sinister look, and his face became extremely ugly. "What happened to me just now? Scared by a sword warrior trash? Impossible." With his cultivation level, he could easily crush a swordsman warrior with a finger. How could he be scared? However, cold sweat dripped from his forehead as his palms turned cold. A few underlings came over and asked, "Young master, what did that kid say?" Do we need to stop that brat? Young master, as long as you say the word, I will capture him immediately. The god's sword child's gaze turned sinister as he looked at Long Fei's disappearing back figure. He bellowed, "You dog!" Killing intent soared to the heavens. All right, they didn't come. You can leave now. Lu Luoshi said indifferently as they walked to a remote alley. His eyes were ice cold. Phoenix was stunned. She asked, "Beautiful sister, aren't you going with us?" Long Fei did not say thank you, because he did not need Lu Luoshi's help. Even if Tian Jin and the other Popinjays had some power, he could deal with them. Long Fei looked at Lu Luoshi and said, "You won't be able to pass the South Heaven Gate mission by yourself, so I might be able to help you." You? Lu Luoshi was a little angry and said, "With your swordsman rank? If it wasn't for me, you would probably be dead by now. You still want to help me? Take care of yourself first." She knew why men approached him. She would not fall in love with any man except that man. Even if she reached the end of her lifespan, she would still wait for that man to appear. If she hadn't appeared, she wouldn't have fallen for the second man. Phoenix muttered, "Big sister, my husband is very powerful." "Really? I'm not lying to you." "All right." Lu Luoshi did not believe that a person with swordsman rank could be that powerful. He looked at Long Fei and said, "I'm not a 3-year-old child. I'm not that easy to deceive. All of you, hurry up and leave. If possible, it would be best to leave the ancient antiquity." Finished. Lu Luoshi walked out of the alley in large strides and didn't look back. Ever since Lu Luoshi entered the ancient antiquity, she had always been alone, with few friends and no companions. Ever since Lu Luoshi entered the ancient antiquity, she had always been alone, with few friends and no companions. Her master had reminded her several times to find a partner, as it would be beneficial for her to train like this. There were many monstrous geniuses in ancient antiquity who expressed their love and admiration for her, but she was indifferent to it all. Even if the sect master were to personally grant her a marriage, she would still reject it, because she was waiting for someone, waiting for a man to appear. So many years had passed, yet that person had never appeared. Lu Luoshi's heart was in a mess. She was afraid that that person would not appear, afraid that that man would no longer exist in this world. Scared when she found out that there was an ancient holy artifact in the ancient antiquity. Seek mirror. As long as the idea and the seek mirror unite in their hearts, they would think of a person, and that person's location would appear in the mirror. However, exchanging for seek mirror required a lot of points. With her current points, it was too difficult to exchange for seek mirror. The only way was to complete the 3 god missions. Only then would her points be enough to exchange for seek mirror once. She would be able to do what she thought was right, and where the man she was waiting for would be. For this, she tried hard. However, the quest was simply too difficult. She had failed continuously. This time, she did not have much confidence. Even if there was a tiny chance, she wouldn't let it go. She must find a man. "Hubby, Big Sister Beauty seems to be angry. What should we do?" The phoenix played with the corner of its clothes and muttered while looking at Lu Luoshi's distant figure. Long Fei said, "It's fine if she doesn't want us to follow her." Phoenix said, "No way." "Hubby, do you know how to catch a girl?" Long Fei said, "You little girls still understand all this?" Phoenix replied, 3 methods. Long Fei asked, "Those 3? Her skin is thick. Her skin is very thick, even thicker than the city walls. Only with her perseverance can she catch up to a girl." "Hubby, let's go chase after the beautiful big sister. Like you said, that mission is very difficult. If something were to happen to her, you would lose a wife." Phoenix said with a serious expression. Long Fei was startled. He wasn't the kind of guy who liked to put his hot face against someone else's cold ass. However, Lu Luoshi was different. Disregarding her beauty, Long Fei still felt that her name was very familiar, just like the phoenix he saw for the first time. It was also that kind of familiar feeling, but he couldn't remember. Long Fei looked at the phoenix and said, "Small fries and big devils. Little girl, why are you so sure that she's my woman?" "Just because she's beautiful." Long Fei was very confused. There were a lot of beautiful women, and Luluashi was indeed a bit more beautiful, but just because she was beautiful, she was determined? Phoenix giggled and said, I don't know either. In any case, when I saw big sister Luo, I felt very happy in my heart. I feel that a beautiful woman like her should be my husband's woman. Hubby, let's chase them. Beautiful sister is about to disappear. Long Fei and Phoenix gave chase. Not long after, the Phoenix pulled the corner of Luluashi's clothes and said, Beautiful big sister, don't be angry. My husband doesn't know anything. He's just a weakling in swordsman rank. He wants to train with you, so take him with you. I promise you, he will definitely not give you any trouble. Sure. The Phoenix began to sell adorably again. Her big eyes blinked as she looked at Luluashi. Her small mouth pouted, as if she was acting coquettishly, causing people's hearts to ache for her. Long Fei also said, I'll just watch from the side. I won't drag you down. Luluashi looked at the Phoenix and then looked at Long Fei. She refused in her heart. But, at this moment, her inner heart relaxed once again. She didn't know why she agreed, but she said indifferently, Fine, I'll let you follow me on account of the little girl. But, just follow behind me. Don't do anything else. Also, once you reach the secret world S of South Heaven Gate, you can only wait outside. You are not allowed to enter the secret world S. Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, Phoenix immediately promised, Okay, I promise. Luashi said. Then wait for me at the teleportation hall. I'm going to the black market to buy a few things. Long Fei said, I will also inform my friends. Luluashi said, the teleportation hall will reconvene in half an hour. I have a mission to complete. Here are a few holy source stones. You can keep them. OL3 is injured, so you should rest well in the next few days. OL3, take care of him. Also, here is your identity plate. Long Fei explained. He didn't know when Lin Yuan would come looking for trouble again, but even when the top 10, Sun Yong, was defeated by him, so he shouldn't be that fast in a short time. Ma Dongqiao definitely did not dare to come again. Bailey Tianhai said, Big brother, you stay outside and be careful. Long Fei replied, I will. Half an hour later, Long Fei arrived at the teleportation hall. This place was where the ancient antiquity would lead to some specific places, and there was a special teleportation gate. Hubby, why isn't the beautiful big sister here yet? She's not gone. Phoenix was somewhat worried. Long Fei said, Probably not. Since she agreed, then she shouldn't let us go. The two of them waited for more than 10 minutes, but there was still no one. Long Fei felt that it was a little strange. He secretly thought, Did he really leave me behind? Phoenix suggested, Beautiful sis has gone to the black market. Why don't we go look for her there? At this moment, Luluashi said softly, I'm here. With that, his figure landed behind Phoenix. The aura emitted from her body was quite intense, and her face was a bit red. She must have been fighting just now, and her aura hadn't even calmed down yet. Luluashi looked into the distance and said anxiously, Let's go in. Phoenix did not think too much about it, and immediately followed Luluashi into the teleportation hall. Long Fei paused for a moment, seeing that there were a few black-clothed men dressed in tight robes looking for someone in the crowd. Long Fei looked at Luluashi, who had just entered the teleportation hall, and without much thought, he followed. To the Nantian city, Luluashi said indifferently. The disciple said, Senior sister, you're going to challenge the South Heaven Gate again? You even brought helpers this time? Senior sister, aren't you a lone wolf? Why would I? Luluashi's gaze turned cold. The disciple immediately activated the formation and didn't dare to say anything else. The three of them walked into the teleportation circle. With a flash of white light, they appeared in another place. Oh, young master, that brat really did follow senior sister Lu to Nantian City. Also, senior sister Lu stole something from the black market just now. The black market leader has already sent people to investigate her. God's sword child did not hear the last sentence, and his eyes became sinister. Bitch, you really brought her to Nantian City. You dog, you dare to fight with me for a woman? I will definitely make it so that you won't be able to come back. In front of us is the Nantion City. If you want to pass through the South Heaven Gate, this is the first stop. In front of us is the Nantion City. If you want to pass through the South Heaven Gate, this is the first stop. You two can't stay 2 meters away from me. Do you understand? Lu Luoshi's face turned serious. He looked at Long Fei with some hesitation, and in the end said softly, "Follow me closely." Phoenix nodded seriously and said, "In." Long Fei followed him. Nantion City, an extremely dilapidated city. There were no pedestrians on the road, and the surroundings looked quite gloomy, giving people the feeling that they had arrived at the Fengdu Ghost City. This city, Long Fei was a little doubtful in his heart. Sect missions could also be called instance dungeons. This was the outer sect's most difficult quest, the highest level instance dungeon. In order to pass, one had to pay attention to all the details. With Lu Luoshi's powerful cultivation, she had already failed 3 times as a genius of Sword Elf Mountain, which showed that this quest was not something that could be passed with a simple martial skill. There must be some other reason. Was Long Fei, game expert, instance dungeon expert? He had already passed the Berserk Beast dungeon. The Violent Sword dungeon was so difficult, so what other secondary instincts could possibly hold him back? Lu Luoshi said blandly, "This city is not ordinary. The people inside are all ghosts, and the lowest level ghosts are all in the Sword Sect realm. The strongest ghost is even stronger than me, and we can't kill all of them, so you guys must follow me closely after we enter the city." Lu Luoshi reminded her once again in a serious tone. Spirits? Long Fei secretly noted it down in his heart. Is there anything special about it? Lu Luoshi asked. What's special about it? The special thing is that you can't kill them all. If you can't kill them all, once you attract too many ghosts, don't even think of going any further. The only way is to withdraw from the Nantion City. This is the only way to survive. If you guys are surrounded and I can't save you, then you'll be safe. Those ghosts won't leave the city. Long Fei remembered every word. This might be useful information. Can't kill him. Extremely large number. You can't leave the city, and they don't chase after the retreating people. This information, Long Fei raised his head to look at the high walls and thought to himself, there should be some kind of restriction power in this city, or maybe there is some kind of array formation in this city, the boundary, the ghost cannot come out. Not long later, the 3 of them arrived at the city gate. The city gate was ajar, and a cold wind blew from inside, causing people to shiver. Lu Luoshi warned for the 3rd time, "It's very dangerous inside. If you're afraid, you can wait here." Phoenix immediately said, "Beautiful sister, we are not afraid." Long Fei said, "Since I'm here, I should go in and take a look." Lu Luoshi said, "Okay, remember what I said, don't leave my 2-meter range." Finished. Lu Luoshi stepped onto the Nantion City. Long Fei pulled Phoenix and followed closely. After his body had completely entered the Nantion City, Long Fei felt that he had entered into another world. There wasn't a single person, nor was there a ghost that Lu Luoshi had mentioned. The entire world was incomparably quiet. There was not a single sound. Phoenix said, "This place is very strange." Lu Luoshi immediately made a gesture of silence and said softly, "Don't talk." Woo! A humming sound could be heard. Lu Luoshi's eyes changed. His body moved, schwa. With a wave of the long sword, it swept out. A ghost suddenly appeared, and in the instant it appeared, it was also slashed into 2 by Lu Luoshi. The ghost was just like a ghost. After being slashed into 2 by Lu Luoshi, his illusory body fell onto the ground and slowly disappeared. Phoenix said excitedly, "Sister, you're so awesome." Indeed. Then the speed of her reaction. At the very least, Long Fei was not able to reach that realm, and her speed was astonishing. Moreover, as soon as the ghost appeared, it chopped down and killed it. That speed, that sword technique, that damaging prowess. It was a bit of an explosion, but Long Fei was a little doubtful. The ghost just now did not have any blood channels? Or did it happen too fast that I didn't notice? No gash. This was a little strange. Everything that Long Fei saw became a game for the system, which meant that as long as anyone monster or demon, appeared alive in front of him, there would be a cut on the top of his head. What kind of situation was this? This was the first time Long Fei had met one. Maybe it was too fast. I didn't see it clearly. Long Fei secretly thought. Lu Luoxi said calmly, "Stop talking. Follow me closely." Lu Luoxi carefully walked forward with every step. Her aura radiated slightly as she sensed her surroundings. The phoenix looked fearless as it followed behind Lu Luoxi with a playful smile on its face. Long Fei observed his surroundings. Other than the slightly dark colors, the rest of the place was similar to a normal city. It was just that every shop, yard, mansion, and all the other entrances were open. Many shops were still filled with various products that had already rotted and dried up. Clean, tidy, without any confusion. It looks like everyone in the city evaporated in an instant. Long Fei thought. At this moment, Lu Luoxi suddenly stopped and looked ahead. The phoenix bumped into Lu Luoxi's body and asked, "Big sister, why aren't you leaving?" Lu Luoxi did not speak, his gaze fixated at the intersection. Long Fei took the opportunity to look over. This is Little Boss, a man with a short stature and wearing armor with a katana at his waist. His appearance couldn't be seen clearly. His body was covered in black flames. The key point was his body was glowing with a golden light. This was the special characteristic of a boss. Lu Luoxi whispered, "Ghost General. This is my 4th time here, the first time I met a ghost general." Phoenix asked, "What is a ghost general?" Lu Luoxi said, "To put it simply, he's a monster from the underworld Ghost Manor. This kind of monster has the power of hell. Did you see the black flames on his body? Only hell's organisms have this kind of hellfire. The two of you stand here, don't move." Lu Luoxi slightly moved his sword and took a step forward. The ghost general looked up, his 2 black eyes burning with black flames. Seeing the great Lu Luoxi take a step forward, he held the katana tightly in his hands and slowly pulled it out. Yi Zichen glared. Shua! His figure blurred and disappeared from the spot. So fast, Long Fei secretly thought and understood the situation through the system. This is not an ordinary ghost general. The reason why he disappeared just now wasn't because of his speed, but because of his special ninja technique. Shadow cuts. It was also Lu Luoxi's first time meeting a ghost general. Facing this sudden disappearance, she was not afraid, and her eyes slightly moved. Buzz! 8 shadows suddenly rushed out. The katana slashed out. Long Fei was shocked. All of them were physical. They were all physical entities. They were all physical entities. If it was a ninja technique, suddenly creating a clone, the clone would look exactly the same. They were all real, but it was impossible to trick the system. Those with blood vessels were the real deal. Thus, Long Fei kept using the system to observe. As he waited for the shadows to emerge, he discovered that all 8 of them had a gash in them, meaning that all 8 of them had physical bodies. Could it be that there were 8 people just now? Long Fei exclaimed. At the same time, Lu Luoxi looked at Long Fei, her heart turning cold. At the same time, she changed her sword techniques. Limitless sword. Swastika. The long sword swept out. Rumble, rumble, rumble. With her as the center, streams of sword cheese burst out from the ground, forming a miniature sword cheese formation with a diameter of 10 meters. The sword chi flashed and formed a swastika. Bam! A figure was sent flying into the darkness by the sword beams. Bam! Bang bang! A single sword strike had defeated the enemy. None of the 8 figures got near to Lu Luoxi's body and were all sent flying by her attacks. It was very sharp. She even had 8 myriad sword techniques. The sword art was infused with the will of the Tao of Buddhism. To this evil creature from the infernal realm, the damage was doubled. Furthermore, to be able to change his sword technique at such a fast speed, Lu Luoxi had to be powerful. It was no wonder that she could become the great senior sister of the Sword Elf Mountain. Not because of her beautiful appearance, but because of her powerful strength. Long Fei said softly, "They seem to be 8 ghost generals, and none of them died." Lu Luoxi was shocked yet again. as he suspected in his heart. The damage caused by the swastika sword chi earlier was extremely strong. I couldn't even determine if he was dead, yet he knew he wasn't. She looked calm on the surface, but she didn't show the shock in her heart. His aura surged. Buddha. Lu Luoshi's eyes flashed with a bright light, and the power within her body also released a bright light. In an instant, under the light that radiated from her body, the dull crossroads' surroundings became abnormally clear. The area 20 meters around Lu Luoshi was densely packed with ghosts. Old people, children, women, men, all of them. Everyone stood there and looked at Lu Luoshi. Phoenix was shocked. Long Fei was also shocked. I wasn't mistaken just now. These ghosts do not have any traces of blood on them. If that's the case, that means one thing. These ghosts are most likely all NPCs. They won't take the initiative to attack. Lu Luoshi's pupils tightened. She absolutely did not expect that there would be so many ghosts gathered around her. The Buddhist light exploded. Buzz. It became dazzling. The spirits retreated one by one, but they did not panic. On the contrary, their eyes were anxious, just as if there was something that required Lu Luoshi's help. Even if he had to take the risk, he did not leave. Buddhist light, sword radiance. The sword merged with the Buddhist light. The power on the sword became incomparably powerful. Long Fei's forehead tightened. He immediately took a step forward and said, "Wait." Lu Luoshi frowned, slightly unhappy, said, "What are you doing here? Hurry up and move to the side." In her world, she wouldn't care about any man other than that one, and she didn't need any men to appear. Long Fei's sudden appearance made her feel extremely unhappy. Thus, Lu Luoshi did not give any face at all and said, "Scram." Long Fei did not leave, but quickly walked to her side and said, "Listen to me first. These ghosts might not be trying to hurt you." Lu Luoshi simply could not stop there, and with a heavy sound, he shouted, "Scram." Long Fei's brows tightened. He was also angry and said, "You don't understand my words, right?" Lu Luoshi was startled. He did not expect Long Fei to dare speak to her like that. His eyes became cold as he said, "Your true face has been revealed, right? Follow me. I know what you're thinking. Now scram further away from me. If you dare to come any closer, I will take your life." Lu Luoshi's voice became colder and colder. She was like an iceberg. Long Fei's anger rose. "What do you mean by exposing your true face? Your father's face has always been like this. You want me to get lost? This is not your home. You don't have the right to tell me to scram." Long Fei retorted, but in his heart, he was also dissatisfied. Phoenix was surprised for a moment. She looked at the two of them and giggled. Ani once said that fight is marriage, cursing is love. Are the two of you in love now? Ithi. Lu Luoshi squinted, stared at Long Fei, and said again, "I'll give you one last warning. Get the hell out of my sight." Long Fei also didn't want to say more, so he said, "This place isn't your home. You don't have the qualifications to tell me to scram." Boom! The Buddhist light and the sword beam moved heavily. Lu Luoshi said straightforwardly, "Then don't blame me for being rude." Fall! The Buddhist light enveloped him, and the sword light wreaked havoc. All of a sudden, a huge cross of light appeared above Lu Luoshi's head. If he chopped down, all the ghosts would probably die. Long Fei's violent temper also rose. Then let's see who's the one being impolite to who. Boom! Ancient dragon body. The aura on Long Fei's body suddenly changed. He clenched both of his fists tightly together as he held the great sword in his hand. Seeing Lu Luoshi's powerful sword moves, Long Fei held his sword with both hands. Berserk Beast sword art. Ascending dragon. Boom! He slashed out with his sword. Under the great treasured sword, streams of sword chis broke through the ground and shot into the sky. Each of the sword chis was like a berserk dragon. He soared into the sky. Lu Luoshi's Buddhist light, sword light cross, slash also heavily smashed down. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The two sword techniques clashed, wreaking havoc everywhere. Long Fei retreated slightly, and the blood underneath his chest started to boil. Long Fei of the ancient dragon body was actually able to make the blood boil. Lu Luoshi's sword technique was powerful beyond belief. Of course, this was also Long Fei's intentional control. His ancient dragon body's power had yet to be fully unleashed. Lu Luoshi's face was flushed red. He retreated a few steps before stabilizing himself and looked at Long Fei in shock. Long Fei said with a heavy voice, "Have you calmed down now? Can you listen to me now?" Lu Luoshi never thought that a person who was only a swordsman would have such great power. Her cultivation level was immortal swordsman rank. However, in this match, he was actually weaker by half a point. Lu Luoshi said solemnly, "What do you want to say?" She was careful. "I knew how to kill, and if I wanted to use my brain to solve a problem, I would have to use force." No wonder the ancient people said it was so brainless. Long Fei complained once, then said, "These spirits are very strange. I think they have something to request of us. Don't be in a hurry to make a move. Let's see what they want to do first." This was Long Fei's intuition. He walked up with large strides. Without a blood groove, these spirits were very special. Without a blood groove, these spirits were very special. Moreover, Long Fei observed them carefully and saw the pleading look in their eyes. It had to be the reason. Lu Luoshi said, "They're just a group of ghosts. What can they say? They will only want your life." Long Fei did not care about Lu Luoshi, walked in front of Spirit and asked, "Do they want my life?" "You want it. Did they attack me?" Long Fei stood there, unmoving. Actually, he was also testing the waters, but he wasn't 100% confident. Only Lu Luoshi made him a little angry. When Lu Luoshi saw that the spirits did not attack Long Fei at all, and that all of them were looking at him, their eyes were blazing with passion. Her heart was also shaken as she said unhappily, "Even if I don't harm you, what can you do? They're just ghosts, just a remnant soul. They are nothing." Long Fei said, "All things in the world have a spirit, so what if you have a remnant soul? They too have a spirit." Long Fei did not continue talking with Lu Luoshi and asked, "Did something happen here?" The ghost quickly nodded. Lu Luoshi was startled. Her eyes tensed up as she turned her gaze away, not looking at Long Fei, because she didn't want to see Long Fei feeling complacent in front of her. It was just that. Long Fei did not even look at her. Lu Luoshi couldn't help but be curious, and looked in Long Fei's direction as he thought in his heart. "Elder told me, these ghosts are extremely dangerous. Could it be? Is it fake? Why not attack him? Was it fear?" Lu Luoshi was puzzled. This was the 4th time she had been here. Every time she had been here, she had killed her way through, never stopping, never paying attention to the looks in the spirits' eyes. Even, there were several times when the spirits knelt in front of her and cowed out. She only thought that these ghosts were begging for mercy, but now that she thought about it, their eyes didn't seem to be asking for forgiveness, but for something else. "What can we do? If we can help you, you can say so. We will definitely help you." Long Fei said, under these circumstances, he must ask patiently, because this may trigger the task. It was very possible that this quest had something to do with the South Heaven Gate. The spirits all knelt down towards Long Fei. Long Fei stood in the middle of the intersection. From all directions, all the ghosts were kneeling on the ground. This scene, it was too shocking. Lu Luoshi was also stunned. It was like worshipping an emperor. Lu Luoshi had never seen such a scene before. Long Fei immediately said, "No need for such a big bow. Just say whatever you have to. If you can do it, we will definitely do it. If it cannot be done, I will also do it with all my strength." One of the ghosts stood up and gestured, indicating that he could not speak. Following that, he pointed to the tall buildings in the distance. Long Fei looked at the direction of his hand and was slightly shocked. If he did not point out, Long Fei really would not have thought that there was a skyscraper in the Nantian city, the shape of an ancient building. However, it stood tall in the clouds. High above, there was a ball of black flames. There was something odd about it. Long Fei said, "Do you want me to go there?" The ghost quickly nodded. Lu Luoshi immediately said, "No." Long Fei looked at her. "Lu Luoshi, just now, the ghost general came from that place. The aura of that place is extremely dangerous, and we cannot approach it. If we provoke them, none of us will survive. Besides, our mission is not to save them. Our goal is to pass through the South Heaven Gate. Long Fei said, "Don't you think they are pitiful? There's only one remnant soul left, and it's still imprisoning this city. Don't you want to help them? Maybe there will be a special harvest?" Long Fei didn't say it so clearly. However, Lu Luoxi answered straightforwardly, "I don't want to." She did not think of helping these ghosts. She only thought of how to complete the mission, how to obtain the task reward, and she only wanted to exchange for the right to use the Seek Mirror. Where was the man she had been waiting for? Dead or alive? That was all she was thinking about. As for other things, she had never thought of this in the past 100 years. Phoenix also muttered, "Beautiful sister, they look really pitiful. Let's just help them." Lu Luoxi said coldly, "I'll help you. I can't help you." Finished. Lu Luoxi took a step forward, looked at Long Fei, and walked away. She didn't want to die. She wanted to live well for herself and for that man before she saw her beloved. She didn't want to waste time on anything else. Long Fei exhaled and said, "Phoenix, let's go." Before he could finish, Long Fei's pupils abruptly tightened, and his gaze became especially gloomy. Coincidentally, Lu Luoxi saw the look in Long Fei's eyes, the kind of look. She had a sense of déjà vu, like an extremely important person threatened. And then, she also looked at Phoenix, her expression changing as the aura around her turned malevolent. At this moment, a person stood behind Phoenix. It could also be said that there were 8 people. It was the ghost general, half hidden, who had just been injured by Lu Luoxi. It was eerie. A cold laugh was revealed. Long Fei took a step forward. Before his foot could land on the ground, the ghost general placed a hand on Phoenix's shoulder and said softly, "If any of you dares to take a step forward, she will immediately die." At this moment, Phoenix felt the presence of someone behind her. She tilted her head and looked at the ghost general. She was not afraid in the slightest as she said, "I will not die." Long Fei said, "Let her go. I guarantee that nothing will happen to you." "Ha ha! Let her go. Are you kidding? Or you don't even know what she is?" "Ha ha!" The ghost general smiled excitedly. Master has been wanting the holy blood all his life today, not waiting for him to finish. Long Fei's chi suddenly surged. "Ancient dragon body, release all your firepower." Rumble. Long Fei released a roar from his body. He lowered his body and leaned forward. Boom! In the blink of an eye, it vanished and its 2 fists charged forward with explosive speed. The dragon's roar shook. The pressure was like the heavens. The entire Nantian city began to shake violently. It wouldn't matter even if he chopped at Long Fei, but he absolutely could not touch the family by his side. He did not know Phoenix's identity. However, from the moment he saw her, Long Fei felt that he owed her from his previous life. He felt that she was someone he had to protect. Now that she saw that she was being threatened by the ghost general, then he couldn't control himself at all. And at this moment, the shadow behind the ghost general continued to charge forward, meeting Long Fei head-on. Bam! With a punch, a ghost general was immediately blasted into smithereens. Boom! Boom! After continuously attacking, 7 ghost generals were consecutively turned to dust by Long Fei's fist, as his entire body also went berserk. However, the moment he rushed over, the ghost general smiled sinisterly and disappeared with Phoenix. The ghost general disappeared with Phoenix. The ghost general disappeared with Phoenix. Long Fei missed his target, and his eyes turned into dragon pupils as he became completely furious. The idea moved. Feeling the direction the ghost general disappeared in, his body rose up from the ground and flew out with a single step. Boom! The ground exploded. The shock even stunned Lu Luoxi a little. In that instant, the power Long Fei displayed was too strong. What kind of power was it? The power of an ancient elder? Isn't this kind of sudden change in strength too strong? Logically speaking, this kind of powerful ancient power should have chosen him as an inner core disciple. Why did he fail? Luluashi thought about how Long Fei's ascending dragon had completely blocked her Buddha light sword cheese cross slash's power, and it had suddenly changed. His strength suddenly increased. This was not a power that could be released by the swordsman rank. Obviously, Long Fei was an ancient energy cultivator. Luluashi looked in the direction that Long Fei had disappeared in, but she did not immediately follow after him. After hesitating for half a minute, Luluashi walked in front of Spirit and asked, "How do I get to that tall building?" "Waha, inborn sacred blood. I never thought that I would meet someone who has innate holy blood in this lifetime. Are you the reincarnation of an Esper from the divine space? Or was it someone who came down from the divine space?" Ghost Manor, top floor. The huge hall was like a training hall. Beneath a huge martial character sat a man in black armor with his legs crossed. The man's armor shone with a golden light. 3 katana blades were placed beside him. Black flames burned on the blade like a devil. He looked at the phoenix in the center of the arena, his eyes burning with passion, as if he wanted to eat the phoenix in one bite. Phoenix was very calm. He was surprisingly calm. It was a completely different kind of calmness from her age of 10. If he knew what she had experienced in the past 10 years, this scene would be too child's play for her. Phoenix giggled and said, "Since you know that I'm from the divine space, then you shouldn't have brought me here." Divine space? Ancient world's divine world. Ancient clan, the world of the ancient powers. It was also known as the God Realm. This was just a mortal world. No one dared to offend the people from the divine space. Black Warrior laughed sinisterly. The people from the divine space are indeed not to be provoked. That is, to others, I have never been afraid of them. What's more, the fact that you were captured by my ghost general means that you haven't fully awakened. Your cultivation is too weak, so how can I miss a super great tonic like you? As long as I consume your sacred blood, I will be qualified to enter the divine space. Ha! The divine space is the goal that I've been striving for this entire life. As long as one consumed the holy blood of the energy users in the divine space, they would be able to obtain an extremely strong power and would also be able to obtain a replacement. Substitute the powerhouse and upgrade to the divine space. The people of the mortal world revered the powerhouse of the divine space. At the same time, there were many people who coveted the sacred blood in the bodies of those who were capable of doing so. A real ancient world. A smile still hung on Phoenix's face as she asked, "Do you think you can obtain the holy blood in my body?" "Even if I don't agree, my husband will not agree." Black Warrior asked, "Your husband? That crazy man from before?" "Him." "Haha. Then you don't know what kind of place this is, but this is the Ghost Tower. No one who enters this place will be able to leave alive. Do you know why this place has become a dead city? Because they all died here. Even if your ancient antiquities elders were to come, they wouldn't be able to charge in here, much less a waste disciple with only the swordsman rank." While he was speaking, rumble. A loud explosion resounded. The explosive sound was filled with power. Black Warrior tensed up and asked, "What is that sound?" A ghost general hurriedly walked in and said, "Sir, something bad happened. Someone broke into the ghost tower and continued to rush upwards. Our people couldn't hold him off at all." Phoenix giggled and said, "Look, my husband is here. Not to mention the ghost tower. Even the 18 levels of hell wouldn't be able to stop him." Black Warrior's gaze tensed up and said solemnly, "Can't stop him? Then you don't know our strength." Then, Black Warrior frowned. He formed a seal with one hand and muttered to himself, "The power of ghosts and devils. Transform into infinity." Buzz! The black flames on his body soared into the sky. It directly wrapped itself around the ghost tower. The entire ghost tower shook. It was as if the ghost generals in the ghost tower had been injected with chicken blood in an instant, and their strength instantly increased by several times. Moreover, they were all in a state of rage. There was no fear. He unceasingly rushed towards Long Fei. However, there was no point in increasing their strength at all. Amidst Long Fei's berserk mode, the power of the ancient dragon body exploded to the limit that he could currently unleash. This kind of power was able to shatter even the illusory image of the outer space powerhouse. So those two outer space powerhouse were people from the divine space. How could this kind of ghost general be able to stop Long Fei? Bam! Bam! Bang, bang, bang. One after the other, they were all smashed to smithereens. It could be said, it was as if he would turn into ashes the moment he came into contact with Long Fei. It wasn't because of his power, but because of the dragon's might that was being emitted from his body. It directly crushed the ghost general. Boom, boom, boom. Starting from the first floor, Long Fei went from the first floor to the first floor in a second. His figure was like a ray of red light as he instantly charged to the top. I can't block it. My lord, we can't stop them at all. It's here, it's here. He's coming. The ghost generals panicked and squeezed into the training hall. Black Warrior's forehead turned sinister. Phoenix giggled and said, I say, you guys can't stop my husband, right? He's the strongest man in the world, he. She had never worried. He had never been disappointed in Long Fei either. From the first time she saw Long Fei, she felt that Long Fei was very special. It was as if she was destined to be someone. However, she still had to ask her aunt whether she was destined to be a person or not. Only her aunt knew. Black flames burned out of Black Warrior's eyes as he looked at Phoenix and said solemnly, even if he's powerful, you're in my hands right now. I'll suck your holy blood dry first. Phoenix was stunned for a moment. Black Warrior did not want to miss this chance. This might be the only chance for him to enter the divine space. He had originally wanted to enjoy it, but now he didn't have the time. The ghost tower was about to explode. Immediately, Black Warrior suddenly stood up. Boom! The black flames covered the entire training hall. He turned around and heavily pounced at Phoenix. Phoenix muttered, now that I'm in danger, am I able to unleash my powers? Phoenix was never afraid. Phoenix was never afraid, because there was nothing that could frighten her other than the departure of her family. Overbearing strength? Non-existent. She was well aware of her own strength. The pupils in his eyes changed to an azure color. Rainbow-colored feathers grew out from his forehead. He released his aura. As if they were about to spread their wings, the surrounding group of people were instantly blasted away. It was also at this time. Black Warrior rolled down and let out a creepy, excited laugh. Ha ha! They really are people from the divine space. I want your holy blood. Ha ha! Rumble! The gigantic black flames crushed towards the phoenix. But, at this moment, Shua, a figure suddenly attacked. He landed in front of Phoenix and said with a deep voice, withdraw your strength. Phoenix muttered, oh. The one who came was Long Fei. Feeling the strong energy fluctuations from the ghost tower, he did not have any chance to stay and directly rushed to this place. Seeing that Phoenix was about to erupt with her strength, his heart sank. Stop it immediately. The strength of the black-clothed man was greater than all the powerhouse in the mortal world. Long Fei still could not forget the fierce battle that happened in the air and the powerful competition between their strengths. He didn't even know if his own ancient dragon body would be able to compete with it. The only thing he could do was to make Phoenix hide as much as possible before he could become a powerhouse. Huh, another person who possesses a special blood vein. Perfect, then let's eat it together. The Black Warrior let out a furious roar, and a powerful force fell down heavily. Under the black flames, Long Fei raised his eyes slightly. You overestimate yourself. He stretched out his right hand, pulled it out of the ground, and inserted it into the black flames. And at this moment, before the Black Warrior could react, Long Fei's body fell and smashed the ground heavily with his fist. Poochie! Rumble! The ground was cracked, and the entire ghost tower was shaking. The armor on Black Warrior's body completely shattered, revealing his true appearance. An incomparably skinny dwarf, with an incomparably wretched appearance. There was a white cloth tied around his crotch. Although Long Fei did not know this name, he had seen it a lot in movies from his previous life. Little Japan, you F*** dare to be so arrogant in this alternate world? F***CK. Long Fei's anger rose, and he lifted him up into the air, then said, F***ck. You can also come to a different world? With his neck being grabbed by Long Fei, Black Warrior's face was pale. He glared at Long Fei and said, "Kid, do you know who I am? If you dare kill me, my father will not spare you." Long Fei was startled. "Damn, you even have a father? Are you guys from Earth?" Black Warrior shivered and said, "Earth? What kind of place is the Earth? I only know that my hometown is the East Ocean." The East Ocean? F***ck. It's really little Japan. Long Fei's eyes were brimming with anger. His body trembled as he said, "You can't kill me. My father won't forgive you. My father is the East Ghost King. If you dare kill me, Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei grabbed him by the throat and smashed him hard onto the ground. Bam! The ghost tower shook. Long Fei was lifted up again and smashed down once more. Bam! The ghost tower shook and was about to collapse. Took it up, smashing again. Bang, bang, bang. Moreover, after one strike, the bloody wound on the top of Black Warrior's head returned to zero. However, Long Fei did not stop. How could he vent his hatred if he did not burn his bones and scatter his ashes? Don't even mention that your father is the Ghost King. Even if your father is the Celestial Emperor, if he dares to appear, your father will still kill him into the sky. Boom! He hit the ground heavily. The short and small Black Warrior's entire body split open. All of his tendons and veins broke, his bones stabbed out of his body. His head exploded, and he died in an extremely miserable state. "Bah, you old bitch." Long Fei gave a harsh laugh and said, "Did you also cultivate to fly up to this place?" Long Fei thought of the Yuansha Realm Elder. He was also a character from the Legends of Earth and had appeared in this world. Naturally, the powerhouse of the island nation could as well. Holy **T. Thinking of this, Long Fei couldn't help but become angry. System. When are you going to bring me back to Earth?" Phoenix giggled and said, "Hubby, I knew you would hurry over." Long Fei rolled his eyes at Phoenix and said, "How many times have I told you this? I told you not to use your own strength. Could you listen to me?" Phoenix lowered her head like a child who had done something wrong and was fiddling with her clothes. Long Fei patted her head and said, "All right, the words that I had just said were too heavy. I was just worried that." Phoenix said, "I know, that Master Xian was killed because of my exposed whereabouts. It was all because of me, this troublemaker." Then he began to sob softly. Seeing the Phoenix's cry, Long Fei panicked and repeatedly said, "It's my fault, it's my fault. I shouldn't have criticized you so harshly." Phoenix saw Long Fei's frantic state and suddenly giggled. "Ha ha, had you been tricked by me? Huh?" Long Fei was startled, then looked at the Phoenix's giggling appearance and said, "Little trick." Phoenix giggled. There were tears in her eyes. Long Fei knew that she really blamed herself when she thought about Master Xian's death. "I need to become stronger as soon as possible." Long Fei secretly clenched his fists, and the profound spirit chi on his body became heavy. The time had come for the ancient dragon body to be overdrawn. His gaze swept across the ghost generals in the training hall. "Damn it, all of you will die here." His aura stirred. Spreading out, he clenched his right fist. Explode. All the ghosts would be reduced to fine powder. Not a single one remained. Huff! Long Fei let out a heavy breath. After the power of the ancient dragon body ended, he felt his body becoming incomparably heavy. He was incomparably weak right now. It was also at this time Lu Luoshi ran in, just in time to see the scene of the ghost generals, each turning into powder. He was shocked by Long Fei once again. He was shocked by Long Fei once again. Lu Luoshi stood there in a daze for a long time, unable to say a word. Long Fei also noticed her. He didn't expect that she would still come. He was secretly relieved. At least, Lu Luoshi's heart was still kind. "It's gone. What's there to look at? This building is about to collapse." Long Fei pulled Phoenix and walked to Lu Luoshi's side, reminding him. Lu Luoshi recovered and said, "Oh." He hastily followed. "Are you a talented person?" Long Fei replied, I don't know. Ancient dragon body was an ancient inherent skill? He didn't know. Luashi said, why haven't you been selected to enter the inner sect? The power that you exploded forth earlier was something that even an ordinary sword saint powerhouse could not resist. Yet you are only at the swordsman rank now? This is simply too inconceivable. Long Fei said, if I don't enter the inner sect, perhaps it is because my talent is not good enough. Her. Long Fei laughed dryly. Every sect had a dark side to them, and it just so happened that he encountered one. However, it didn't matter. The more difficult it was, the more determined he would be. This was Long Fei. Regardless of the unfair treatment, plots, or obstacles, he would be able to walk more steadily. Step by step, he would sweep away everything in his path. Luashi paused for a while, and then said, this mission is back. After thinking for a moment, Luashi decided not to say it out loud. She wanted to bring Long Fei into the inner sect. She wanted to say a few words to recommend him to the elder, but she stopped herself just as the words came out of her mouth, because she suddenly discovered that this man in front of her was especially passionate. And a lot more. It was as if he couldn't control himself. This confused her very much. In the entire sect, there were very few people who could say 3 words, but now she was a little lost. This feeling, it was as if he was in the gods' martial continent. It was like seeing that man for the first time. There was no estrangement between him and the man in front of him. It was as if they were very familiar with each other. Luashi couldn't control this feeling either. Phoenix let out a laugh and said, beautiful big sister, what are you going to do after returning? Are you going to marry my husband? Since my husband is so handsome, he should marry a few more wives. Rest assured, I'll let you grow up, hee. There was no end to it. Long Fei glared at Phoenix and said faintly, children's words, don't take it seriously. Phoenix stuck out her tongue playfully. Luashi's cheeks flushed slightly and disappeared in an instant. Her gaze turned ice cold once more. She would only be moved by one man for her entire life. Not for a second man. She was waiting for the man who had fought for her. The 3 of them walked out of the ghost tower. Just as Long Fei had said, a few minutes later, the ghost tower collapsed and turned into a pile of ruins. And just as Long Fei walked out of the ghost tower, the surrounding area was filled with ghosts, all of them kneeling on the ground with eyes full of gratitude. Long Fei did not understand. They clearly hadn't changed. What was there to be grateful for? They had asked him to come to the ghost tower, but now that the ghost tower had been destroyed, he didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Wait! Long Fei's heart trembled. What exploded just now? When that dwarf, the son of the East Ghost King, died, a system notification rang out. It was just that Long Fei did not listen carefully. He was in that state known as the ancient dragon body. Under the ancient dragon body, Long Fei did not care about all this. The idea started to open the system to check. One thing, soul sealing jade. Could it be that the souls of the people in Nantion City are locked inside this jade pendant? Long Fei's heart trembled. He took out the soul-locking jade and asked, all of your souls were sucked into this? When the spirits saw Long Fei take out the soul-sealing jade, they were all trembling in fear. To these ghosts, the soul-sealing jade was a great killing tool. Looks like it. Long Fei asked, how do I release your souls? Can I smash it? Those ghosts all frantically nodded, afraid that Long Fei would not be able to see them. There were at least 1 million ghosts here. This soul-sealing jade was the key to controlling them. If they were to break it, it would grant them freedom. If they didn't shatter, it meant that these people could be ordered around by him. Long Fei pondered for a few seconds. He slammed the soul-sealing jade into the ground. Crash! The soul-locking jade shattered into pieces. The spirits inside were released into the air like the light of souls. The spirits were all boiling. Feeling the return of their souls, some ghosts began to let out sounds. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my lord. Thank you. Everyone said thank you. When their souls returned, their ghosts became a bit more corporeal, but it was still illusory. This was because they were already dead, leaving behind only their souls. Long Fei said, you don't have to be so polite. Even without you guys, I would still do the same to this bunch of little Japan. He didn't have a chance in his previous life. If he saw these bastards of the pirates not killing them, would he be able to repay his ancestors? At this time, a white-haired old man walked forward with a face full of excitement. Thank you, sir, for helping us find our soul. You are the benefactor of our Nantion city. Thank you, Long Fei said. Old sir, there is no need to be courteous. The white-haired old man said, for so many years, our souls have been suffering, and we have been begging for help from the people who came to the Nantion city. To them, we are monsters. Those who enter the city kill as soon as they see us. They don't give us any chance to speak. Only you. The old man's words were very serious. Lu Luoshi's expression changed slightly. She was just like the old man had said. Every time he entered the Nantion city, he would start killing without caring about all that. This was the Nantion city, only a road that had to be traversed. Who would care what happened here before? Every single one of them had come here for the purpose of passing through the South Heaven Gate. Long Fei said, Old sir, you are too kind. No, no, no. The old man quickly said, You have released our souls. You are our benefactor, so? You hear? Long Fei was a little excited in his heart. He pretended to be very calm on the surface, as if everything was something that he should do, as if he didn't want anything in return, but his heart was excited. Following the flow of the game script, if Long Fei helped this group of NPCs, they would definitely repay him. This was inevitable, just like completing a mission to receive a reward. The only difference was that there was no mission here. The elder turned around and looked at the few elders behind him. The old man nodded. The old man's eyes were firm. Elder, this is our reward for you. Finished. A purple gold box appeared in the white-haired elder's hand. It was extremely ancient, and the patterns on it were not ordinary patterns, but rather symbols. He passed 2 hands to Long Fei. At this time, Long Fei was no longer bashful and directly took it in his heart. This thing should be very powerful. Long Fei could not wait any longer. Long Fei could not wait any longer. He wanted to know what was in the purple gold box. He carefully opened the box. What surprised him was that there was no gorgeous light coming out of the box. It was very plain, so dull that Long Fei was a little confused. A rock. Just an ordinary stone? Lu Luoshi stretched out his neck to take a look and could not help but laugh. Stone. Phoenix was also startled. She stood up and looked at the contents of the box with her tiptoes. At first glance, she was just as surprised as Lu Luoshi. However, when she took a closer look, her pupils suddenly constricted. Also at this time, Long Fei opened up the system and used the system to check its properties, because he knew that it was impossible to obtain a rock with so much effort. Indeed, what the F******K? Repression of boundary stones fragment. Item, repression of boundary stones fragment attribute. Unknown description. Fragments thrown out by the repression of boundary stones during its suppression. It's actually a repression of boundary stones. Long Fei never thought that there would actually be a repression of boundary stones here. He also had a repression of boundary stones on him. It was much bigger than this piece of debris. According to the Black and White brothers, ancient world's #1 powerhouse was suppressed by the repression of boundary stones. Just how powerful was the repression of boundary stones? Long Fei didn't quite understand. But to be able to suppress the first powerhouse, its strength must be extraordinary. At the same time, Phoenix's pupils changed. She could also see that there was something special about the stone. She was so astonished that she wanted to cry out. Long Fei immediately shook his head slightly. Phoenix stared blankly for a moment and then did not utter a word. She immediately sound transmitted. Hubby, this stone seems to be a repression of boundary stones. It is a heavenly stone. Why would there be repression of boundary stones here? Isn't the repression of boundary stones the body of the #1 ancient powerhouse that was suppressed in some kind of abyss? Could it be that there are a lot of repression of boundary stones? Phoenix was also puzzled. However, even a 3-year-old child knew about repression of boundary stones in the world of divine space. The cosmic Hades. possessing an unstoppable power. It exists as unsolvable as a bug. At that time, the number one powerhouse of the ancient times could be said to be an existence that disregarded everything, and not a single person in the ancient world was his match. However, a rock was pressed down, and he didn't even have a temper. He was instantly suppressed. Long Fei replied, "I'm not sure, but the matter regarding this stone definitely cannot be spread out." Phoenix nodded her head and said, "Amen, I know. There are many powerhouse in the divine space that are looking for repression of boundary stones. Rumor has it that there is a super treasure on the repression of boundary stones. Whoever can obtain it can dominate the entire ancient world." And then, Phoenix curiously asked, "Hubby, how did you recognize him as a repression of boundary stones?" Long Fei, Phoenix giggled and said, "I know. You're definitely from the divine space, right? I knew it. How can I not have good eyes? The man I like must be the most awesome in the world." Long Fei. He was a bit speechless, but that was fine too, since he didn't have to explain anything. Long Fei kept the box and asked, "Old sir, where did you get this stone?" The old man said, "I have to start from a very long time ago. It is my grandfather's 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 grandfather. It should be my ancestor who picked it up deep in the mountains. This rock is very special. Especially I don't know where it is, but take it out." The demon beast did not dare to approach him. "Is the item bad?" Long Fei shook his head and said no. Lu Luoshi thought that Long Fei did not want to disappoint the old man, so he accepted it. Long Fei thought, "Looks like this repression of boundary stones fragment really shot here from somewhere." Looking at Long Fei, who was deep in thought, Lu Luoshi asked, "Old sir, do you know that if you pass through the South Heaven Gate?" South Heaven Gate. When these three words were spoken, almost all the spirits began to tremble violently. Their eyes were filled with incomparable fear. Long Fei also looked at the old man and said, "The reason we came here today is to pass through the South Heaven Gate. South Heaven Gate is too dangerous. You guys can't even pass it. Listen to my advice. Do not go to the South Heaven Gate. Even if you pass through the South Heaven Gate, it will be useless. No one has ever come out alive." The old man said sincerely. Long Fei's brows tightened and said, "Old sir, is there nothing you can do?" There was no way. If this was a quest, then these ghosts were its key point. The elder pondered for a moment before saying, "If you must fly, you must pass through the South Heaven Gate. You must take the most dangerous path." "The most dangerous Tao? What do you mean?" Long Fei was a little confused. Lu Luoshi also asked, "What is the most dangerous path?" The elder said lightly, "You will have to choose your own path before entering the South Heaven Gate. The most dangerous path is the South Heaven Gate. Our ancestors once said that South Heaven Gate is the door to baptism. All preparations must be made before passing, and all trials must be carried out. At the same time, it is also a way to ascend to the immortal realm. Legend has it that anyone who passes through the South Heaven Gate will be placed in the immortal class and enter the heavenly court. But this is a narrow escape. You must be careful." Long Fei secretly tensed up. Baptism's door? Ascending to the immortal? The South Heaven Gate is the main gate of the heavenly court in the myths. If you go in there, you won't get any celestial seats, so this place is a little different. Long Fei looked at Lu Luoshi and said, "It might be very difficult." Lu Luoshi didn't wait for Long Fei to say the next sentence, and said, "I must go. I must complete the mission." Long Fei asked, "Isn't it just a mission? Why are you a girl trying so hard?" Lu Luoshi said, "Can't girls go all out?" Her heart tightened. "For you, forget about my life. I'm not even afraid of soul flying. For more than 100 years, where have you been?" "Long Fei, where exactly are you?" Lu Luoshi would not give up. As long as she completed the South Heaven Gate mission, she would be able to obtain 800 points and could exchange for the Seek Mirror's fist. She would find that man. It had been more than 100 years. She had waited far too long. She was afraid she would go crazy if she didn't know what happened to the man. Seeing her insistence, Long Fei said, "It's fine as long as you think about it. There's no need to complete this mission." Luluashi did not speak, and instead walked towards the South Heaven Gate. Phoenix said, "Beautiful sister, wait for me." Finished. Phoenix took Long Fei's hand and chased after him. Women sighed. "I'm afraid only love can make a woman so silly." Long Fei laughed bitterly in his heart. Looking at Luluashi's back figure, Long Fei muttered to himself, "I wonder if the person you were waiting for was me?" The Nantian City was the only path that led to the South Heaven Gate. There was no way to fly, so he could only pass through. The Nantian City was the only path that led to the South Heaven Gate. There was no way to fly, so he could only pass through. He would encounter many ghosts in the Nantian City. His previous words had always been to kill his way through. However, this time was different. It could be said that the ghosts on both sides of the street were respectfully sending Long Fei off with their gazes. When Long Fei and the other two had completely left the Nantian City, these ghosts also slowly flew up into the air. With their souls back, it was time for them to go to the underworld to register for reincarnation. One by one, they rose up and slowly disappeared. Finally, the entire Nantian City had truly become a dead city. Teleportation array. We've finally arrived. Looking at the distant Nantian City, his eyes narrowed, and the scene of Luluashi protecting Long Fei appeared in his mind. The anger in his heart surged, and he was extremely displeased. "Young master, are we really going to enter the Nantian City? I heard that the Nantian City is filled with ghosts, and they're extremely powerful. I am worried that..." One of the minions started to get scared. After all, this was an outer sex, 3 gods mission. If it wasn't dangerous, why hadn't it been completed in 100 years? God Sword Child glared at him fiercely and said, "You useless thing, you're already afraid of entering. How are you going to accomplish anything big?" This was also the first time he entered the Nantian City. Compared to fear, his heart was more filled with rage. God Sword Child spoke in a deep voice, "Enter the city. If anyone dares to retreat, don't blame me for being impolite. Let's go." God Sword Child shouted as he walked into the city. In another place, Luluashi pointed to a mountain not far away. There were a few coiling dragon columns on the mountaintop and said, "That is the South Heaven Gate." Long Fei looked over. Behind that mountain was nothingness. There was nothing. It was as if that door was the door to the world. Luluashi looked at Long Fei and said, "You are in a rush to return right now. Once you step into South Heaven Gate, it will be very difficult for you to come out. I can still deal with it in the Nantian City, inside." Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Are you worried about me?" Luluashi said coldly, "No, I'm only reminding you that if you go in, you might die. Since you're still alive, you still have a chance to choose. Don't think that just because your talent is strong that you can deal with it. Talent is a type of power, and there's a limit to its consumption. Excessive use of it will only cause your talent to undergo an unfavorable development and would not benefit you." Everyone's discipline was the same. Overuse would not strengthen one's innate talent. It would only backfire. Make your talent shrink too much. Inherent skill could only be slowly developed, and it was the same for Long Fei's ancient dragon body. From the moment he entered the ancient world, it looked like his ancient dragon body had not changed, but as his cultivation increased, his ancient dragon body had actually become much stronger. It was just that Long Fei did not feel it. Talent was very important. However, the realm was the number one. Long Fei's cultivation was too low. Long Fei said, "Don't worry, once I enter South Heaven Gate, I will be able to protect myself." Phoenix giggled and said, "Beautiful big sister, don't worry, my husband will definitely protect us, he." Luluashi did not speak anymore, and directly walked towards the South Heaven Gate. They reached the top of the mountain. The 4 coiling dragon pillars were quite domineering. They were 2 meters in diameter, and a lifelike huge dragon was spiraling upwards with its head staring at the sky. It was as if he was about to ascend into the heavens. Each coiling dragon column was different. Moreover, when he saw these 4 coiling dragon pillars, Long Fei's heart was sorrowful. He didn't know why, but he felt an incomparable sense of familiarity. However, there was no memory of him. Long Fei looked at the coiling dragon pillar in a daze. Phoenix, who was at the side, also muttered, "This should be a place where fishes are leaping and dragons are gathered. As long as we can pass through this place, we can enter the divine space. This should be an ancient era's remnants." Long Fei looked at the Phoenix and said, "You sure know quite a lot." However, Long Fei did not think about all this. He was thinking that his 8 King Kong was one of the 8 great heaven pillars of the ancient world, and had already awakened a few. Phoenix giggled and said, "Hubby, did you forget that I have a treasure detector? All 4 heaven pillars are divine objects, but no one can move them." Divine object? Long Fei looked at it carefully. Indeed, this coiling dragon pillar was very tyrannical, but it was so huge, who could use it? Lu Luoshi said, "For pillars, split into 3 doors. The first 3 times I chose a different door, and the world inside was also different each time." Long Fei asked, "Which sex world is the hardest?" Lu Luoshi looked at the door on the left and said, "The left door, the world inside, it is a world of thorns. It can be said to be difficult to move an inch. The door in the middle is the demon beast world. It is filled with monsters. The moment you step in, it will immediately be filled with waves. The world in the right gate is about the same. Every step you take can lead to a cliff, or even a grave. 3 doors are all dangerous, but if we're to talk about which door is the most dangerous, then it must belong to the middle group. The demon beasts that fill the entire world, every single one of them is going crazy, and it is impossible to defend against them. I asked Master. Master said that there are no shortcuts in these 3 gates." Long Fei's mind flew. The ghost old man said that I must choose the most dangerous door. But every door is dangerous. Is that the door that is dangerous? In a thorny world on the left, every step along the path of training is hard to take. Demon beast, kill. Killing intent can be found everywhere on the path of cultivation. The right door should also be called the door of enticement. It's also called the door of enticement. One can't resist all sorts of enticements. 3 gates, 3 different worlds. The 3 fans gate are all extremely dangerous. I can't tell if it's more dangerous there or not. Long Fei looked at Lu Luoshi and asked, "When did you enter?" Lu Luoshi said, "It's about the same. I'll be forced out in 3 minutes." Long Fei frowned, unable to compare. The most dangerous Dao? What is the most dangerous Dao? Damn, why don't you make it clear? Long Fei's brain was not strong enough. The ghost old man had said before that only by walking the most dangerous path could one pass through the South Heaven Gate. If the world inside all 3 doors was dangerous, what was the most dangerous thing behind that door? Lu Luoshi looked at Long Fei and said, "Why don't we go to the center, where there are the most demon beasts?" Long Fei shook his head and said, "It's not that simple. The information provided by the ghost elder is definitely useful. To choose the most dangerous path of cultivation, the most dangerous Dao. Everyone's Dao was different." Suddenly, Long Fei's pupils tightened and said, "I understand." So that's what he meant. And then, Long Fei looked at the Phoenix and said, "Phoenix, this time you're going to make a move too." Phoenix shivered and immediately became excited. MM. Phoenix jumped in joy. Lu Luoshi looked at Long Fei and said, "She's still a child. What do you want her to do? Do you have any sympathy? To think that she was so good to you. Long Fei was stunned by what he had said. Phoenix said, "Elder sister, I'm very strong." Lu Luoshi said, "No matter how strong you are still a child. This kind of thing cannot let you take the risk." Long Fei said, "Don't worry, I know what to do. Actually, the 3 fans gate. Without the most dangerous door, the level of danger would be the same. But all 3 of us must enter the 3 fans gate at the same time. Everyone's path is different. All 3 of us must enter the 3 fans gate at the same time." Lu Luoshi said, "It's the same if we enter at the same time. We cannot let her be in danger." Phoenix replied, I won't be in any danger. Everyone's Tao was different. On the way to cultivation, you could encounter all kinds of bottlenecks, thorns, temptations, and slaughter. This was something one would encounter on the path of cultivation. He had to face it at the same time. However, how could a person enter 3 doors? Of course not. Here is the team. Only those who were on the path of cultivation would be able to do so. Didn't know what the design of the South Heaven Gate meant, but he guessed correctly. Cultivating was already very boring, and if he could have a few more brothers, a few more friends, and enjoy the fun of cultivation, it would be a wonderful thing in life. Lu Luoxi still didn't agree. She did not want to take Phoenix's life as a joke. Long Fei had no other choice, and said, I'm just asking you. Do you wish to complete the mission? Lu Luoxi said, I think I won't use your method. Long Fei said, I really admire you, so what if I have this kind of method? At least it's better than if you didn't have the brains to randomly choose, right? Big-chested and brainless, he's talking about people like you. Lu Luoxi was furious. He stared straight at Long Fei and said, You? What? Am I wrong? Didn't you complete your mission to find a man? Is it worth it? Is it worth it for you to risk your life like this? Did you ever wonder what he was doing when you were fighting for him? He might be having fun, hugging left and right, or he might have already died and turned into a pile of mud. Is it worth it? Long Fei said fiercely. Lu Luoxi stared intently at Long Fei. She seemed to have no time to think and spoke straightforwardly. It's worth it. Even if he was like what you said, I am worth it. I, Lu Luoxi, have only believed in one man in my entire life. What's 100 years worth? Even if it's 1,000 years or 10,000 years, I will still wait. It's still worth it. Lu Luoxi said in a similarly ruthless tone. Long Fei laughed bitterly. Silly woman. At this moment, Phoenix walked to the left door, turned her head to look at Lu Luoxi, and said, Beautiful sis, you're willing to risk your life for a man. Although my husband can catch up to you, but your words have touched me, so I should help you even more. Hubby, I'll be going in first. Bam! Phoenix stepped through the door. Lu Luoxi wanted to shout to stop, but it was too late. It was also at this time. Long Fei walked to the big door in the middle and said, I will grant your wish. Whether you enter or not is your problem. Bam! Long Fei also stepped inside. He didn't want to argue with Lu Luoxi anymore. He was even envious of the man that Lu Luoxi was talking about. He walked through the door. Lu Luoxi's expression changed. He looked at the two of them, then looked at the door on the right. And at this moment, she did not think too much and quickly rushed in. She was waiting for someone, but it didn't hurt. Every day, she imagined the moment he'd met her. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter if you still love me or not, I'll wait for you. Lu Luoxi rushed through the door. Buzz! A buzz. The 4 coiling dragon pillars suddenly shook. Next, the 4 coiling dragon pillars fiercely collided with each other. It formed a door. 2 big words appeared on top of the door frame. South Heaven Gate. This was the first time the South Heaven Gate had appeared, in the real sense of the word. In the past, everyone who came to this place would enter through a door. No matter how many people came, they would enter through the same door. He would only face one kind of test. The 3 of them entered, and the world changed. Hubby, you're really too smart. When Phoenix saw Long Fei, she immediately ran over and threw herself on a Long Fei's body, her legs wrapped around Long Fei's waist and her entire face full of smiles. On the other side, Lu Luoxi also appeared. The moment she saw Long Fei, her heart also sunk. She looked at her own chest and said, Am I really brainless with a big chest? Long Fei said, With me here, you don't need to bring brain. All right, let's go to the front and take a look. The world was very special, especially because there were no thorns that filled the world, no demon beast, and no desperate situations. There was only a flat road. The main road led to a temple. Not long after, the 3 of them stood in front of the temple. It could be said that it was a temple, or it could be said that it was a massive magic cube with no way to enter. Lu Luoxi looked at Long Fei and said, Weren't you stupid? What do we do now? Long Fei looked at the entrance of the sacred hall and thought to himself, could it be that my choice was wrong? The great Tao without a door? He glanced back at the road behind him. A great Tao. What did this mean? The great Tao. Cultivation path? Great Tao without a door. F***CK. It's impossible for Laozi's road to be devoid of doors. Even if it doesn't have a door, I can still carve one out. Long Fei circled around the sacred hall. Every piece is different. Do you want to put them together neatly? Long Fei indicated, and it turned. It really is the magic cube. The ancient world has a magic cube. Universe magic cube? Fuck. Don't tell me there's also an or inside. Ever since Long Fei had obtained the Spirit Source Stone, he had been a little possessed by the Women's Union 3. Right now, he just wanted to collect all the ores and snap his fingers. Then just 2, 3, 4. Phoenix asked, Hubby, this seems to mean that there's no door. Luluashi thought to himself as he looked at Long Fei. No wonder when we look at the road that we have taken, it turns out to be a great road. Long Fei said, Don't worry, I'm thinking of a way. To put together this massive temple magic cube was not an ordinary feat, because this temple was extremely huge, so much so that even 10 lifetimes wouldn't be enough for him. However, Long Fei was not worried. There was something else in his mind. There was a technological world inside the special amber that he had obtained from the giant anchor. The most important thing was, there was also an advanced computer. Using a computer to calculate, it would be faster. Immediately, Long Fei moved. One more, one less. If you don't have enough brains, then use a computer. If you don't have enough brains, then use a computer. There was a supercomputer in the amber space, so he couldn't play games. After opening the amber space, Long Fei said to the Phoenix, Wait for me here for the 2 of you. He leapt into the air and landed on top of the giant magic cube matrix. Enter the command, begin scanning. The scan begins. Long Fei continuously moved. While he was moving, he constantly scanned the patterns on the magic cube. 1 face, 2 faces, 3 faces, 4 faces, 5 faces, but the 6th face. In other words, beneath the holy hall, there was nothing to be seen. Long Fei frowned. Damn, this is going to be tough. The magic cube had 6 sides. The front, the bottom, the front, the back, and even the left and right sides. Each side had hundreds of boxes with inscription on them. This is going to be difficult. Long Fei finished scanning all 5 faces and dropped them. Phoenix looked at the secret lock between Long Fei's brows and asked, What's wrong? Luluashi also looked at Long Fei. Is there anything that I can help you with? Long Fei did not speak. There was no way the 2 of them could help. He entered the amber space and looked at the 6 faces that appeared on the computer. He said, This should be a supercomputer with 5 faces. Can you deduce the 6th face? If the wise lowly is here, she would definitely be able to. Knowing that the upper half of the immortal Taoist scriptures S, he had immediately deduced the lower half. But Long Fei glanced at System Girl. She was still in deep sleep. For the time being, he wouldn't be able to wake up. It's up to you. Long Fei typed in a string of instructions into the computer. The supercomputer began to deduce. At the same time, Long Fei said to Phoenix Luluashi, Now, all of you, listen to my orders. Remember one thing. Do not make any mistakes, or else all of your previous efforts will be wasted. Whatever I say, just do it. Don't ask me that much. Phoenix nodded. All right. Although Luluashi did not know what Long Fei wanted to do in this kind of situation, she could only listen to Long Fei. All right. Long Fei replied heavily and said, All right, it's starting. Bing Bing, you go to the temple. Senior sister, you will be in charge of the rear and the right while I will be in charge of the front and the left. Right now, Long Fei explained the order of the boxes. The computer began to calculate, and Long Fei immediately shouted out, Top, 5th row, push left 3 columns, turn. Bing Bing, don't make any mistakes. We only have one chance. In. I know. The Phoenix did as Long Fei commanded. It pushed the grids open, and the sacred hall started to spin, letting out a crackling sound. It was like a large machine was operating. Senior sister, 13th row, push to the right a bit, turn. Hearing Long Fei's words, Lu Luoxi immediately did as he was told and pushed himself onto the platform, where a cracking sound could be heard. Back there, 10th row, first row, 2 slots up. Turn. Up ahead. Up there. Long Fei's consciousness kept changing as he entered the amber space and returned to reality. This would quickly tire a person's mental energy. Long Fei persisted. 1 hour later. Kacha, kacha. Rumble, rumble. Within the magic cube matrix, there was an even more violent explosion. Light constantly burst out from the gaps in the square, as if it were about to explode. It's the last one. Long Fei swallowed hard. Whether I fail or succeed, I'll just watch for a bit. After all, he only knew 5 aspects. If one side was missing, it would be extremely difficult to piece them together completely. Not to mention a human, even a god wouldn't be able to do it that easily. Huff, huff. Long Fei let out a heavy breath, grabbed onto a row of grids, and turned with it heavily. 1 grimoire, 2 grids, 3 grids. Stop. He pressed down with both hands. Buzz. The magic cube matrix emitted a loud sound. The light was boundless. Phoenix and Lu Luoxi retreated back to Long Fei's side, watching the scene before them. Both of them were stunned. What's inside? Just what is this thing? I've never seen one before. Lu Luoxi muttered. No wonder Master said that no one could complete this mission. This is too difficult, right? She turned her face to look at Long Fei. Long Fei looked at the magic cube matrix with a serious face. Very handsome. A serious man is the most handsome. In that instant, Lu Luoxi was almost captivated by Long Fei. Very obsessed, just like a little girl. No matter whether it was Long Fei's serious look or that resolute, handsome face, he was emitting that special aura. It was intoxicating. It was as if he was born with a strong attraction for girls. It was exciting. However, a second later, Lu Luoxi regained her composure. No matter how handsome and powerful the man in front of her was, her heart would not waver. Because her heart belonged to that man. Rumble. With an explosive sound, the magic cube matrix began to rapidly shrink. Long Fei's eyes flashed with excitement as he said, "Yes, it's the right bet, huh?" Seeing this result, he knew that his calculations were correct. The massive magic cube began to shrink rapidly, unceasingly compressing, before finally turning into a fist-sized, sparkling, and translucent little magic cube. Long Fei's eyes started to tremble. Spatial ore? Is it a spatial rocks? Wow! Long Fei heavily swallowed his saliva. His heart started to surge, and he was completely unable to control his excitement. He had the soul rocks in his hands. The space rocks were within this sparkling and translucent magic cube. If he were to obtain more, the scene was so beautiful that even Long Fei did not dare imagine it. Bam! The sparkling and translucent magic cube fell to the ground. The huge temple became the size of a fist. Phoenix and Lu Luoxi were completely shocked, senseless. They had never seen such a thing. What's that? Hubby, what's that? Is that an exit? Lu Luoxi was also excited. If he completed this mission, then he would have points to exchange for Seek Mirror S. Long Fei said, "I'm not sure either. You guys don't move first. I'll go take a look first." He walked up carefully. Inwardly praying, he said, space rocks, there must be space rocks inside. That way, I can travel through the entire universe, and I can even return to Earth in an instant. Old Master, please bless me. Long Fei stood in front of the crystal-clear magic cube and extended his hand out. Suddenly, a beam of black flame suddenly shot out and wrapped around the magic cube. It emitted a ghastly cry, "Boy, thank you. Ha ha, he's mine now." Black flames filled the sky, as sinister as a purgatory. Black flames filled the sky, as sinister as a purgatory. The magic cube wrapped around him, and with a fierce suction force, he sucked him into the black flames. Following that, a man wearing the hat of an Eastern Ocean general appeared above the black flame. His entire body was glowing with a golden light, and his armor appeared to be extremely black. A long purplish red blade. Its entire body was enormous, and it looked incomparably domineering. The aura released from his body also possessed an incomparably powerful pressure. Very strong. Awesome. Through the system, Longface squinted, with killing intent in his eyes. He shouted, "East Ghost King, stealing from me? Damn you!" Longface said fiercely, "It has always been I who stole from others. No one has ever dared to steal from me." This was equivalent to killing a boss. Even before they had gotten their hands on the equipment, it had already been snatched away. How could he tolerate this? Furthermore, he was a Japanese devil, which made things even more unbearable for him. East Ghost King sneered, "Lame duck, I'll give you a chance to live. Now scram far away from here. Otherwise, I'll let you. Let your ancestors do it. F***CK." Without saying a word, Long Fei roared out, "Ancient dragon body." Boom! The aura around his body abruptly changed as the dragon's might became boundless. He jumped up from the ground and directly jumped onto the head of East Ghost King and said loudly, "Little Japan, do you think you can put on airs on this daddy's head? Your son is already waiting for you in the underworld. You should also go down." Both fists exploded. Buzz. The power on his fist rumbled like thunder. Super power boxing. The punch landed. East Ghost King never thought that Long Fei, who only had swordsman rank, would suddenly become so fierce, as if he transformed. When he heard that his son had died, he was also furious. "Ichiro!" With a furious roar, the black flames erupted like a volcano, directly covering the entire sky. Long Fei's figure was also instantly enveloped by the black flames. "My honey," Phoenix shouted out anxiously. Lu Luoshi quickly rushed out and pulled out the sword in his hand, causing all the energy in his body to explode out. Heavenly talisman. A talisman shot out from his left hand. The talisman exploded within the black flames. Lu Luoshi's sword shone with a bright light as it flew into the air and slashed down heavily. Scram! East Ghost King let out a heavy sound as the black flame's power exploded outwards, directly smashing onto Lu Luoshi's body. Lu Luoshi blocked with his long sword. His body was pushed back, straight to the ground. However, she did not stop and rush forward again. East Ghost King shouted in fury, "All of you die for me. Die together with my son." At this moment, the East Ghost King was like a giant octopus. The black flames were like tentacles that swept across the area. Long Fei, who was wrapped in black flames, was very unhappy. Now, he was still fiercely slapped by the black flame tentacles, making him even more unhappy. It was just that, when his super power boxing struck the black flames, it was like bombarding a pool of water. The evil attacks cultivated by the East Ghost King were far beyond what his son could compare to. Long Fei's superpower boxing could not harm him at all. However, the superpower boxing, the Berserk B-Sword technique, was a skill that Long Fei had entered the ancient world to train in. Power of eternity. Open. The surge of power instantly merged into his right arm. After entering the ancient world, Long Fei had not used the power of eternity at all. The power that came from the only eternal coffin in the universe. A surge of power surged out. Clenching his fists tightly, Long Fei smashed his fist against the black flames. F***CKU. Boom! An earth-shaking punch came crashing down. The black flames shrank rapidly. The expression on the face of the Japanese player's face changed. He could feel the power of eternity within the black flames, and his entire body was filled with terror. Your power. What is this power? Annihilate your ancestors' power. Long Fei cursed in rage. His first punch had shattered the black flames, and as he descended, he landed right on top of the little devil's head. Bam! The black armor shattered. The glittering golden armor was immediately blasted into smithereens. Just like that, a god-level armor broke apart. At this moment, a small, naked dwarf ran out from the black armor, holding a spatial spell in his hand. His speed was extremely fast. As expected, what's a son? Your father, must be something too. Trying to run? Do you think you can run away? Boom! Long Fei moved his body, and the aura released from his body was like a huge dragon. With a swing of his dragon tail, Long Fei instantly landed in front of East Ghost King. A fist smashed forward. Bam! East Ghost King was nailed to the ground like a nail. Blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. The pubes was shattered, his tendons and bones were broken, and his entire body was bound up and unable to move. Long Fei said, "Run. Run for me again." F***CK. East Ghost King pleaded for mercy. "Please spare me, my lord. As long as you are willing to let me go once, I am willing to work hard for you. You can only be an animal." Long Fei took a step in front of East Ghost King, could not be bothered to talk nonsense with him, and stomped down heavily with his foot. The East Ghost King let out a howl and said, "Spare me. I'm begging you. I can bring you into the heavenly court. I can bring you into the ancient world's divine space. I'm begging you. Spare my life. Crack. His head exploded from being stepped on. Long Fei coldly snorted. "This daddy wants you to bring it. I won't leave by myself." Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing East Ghost King. Do you wish to absorb its cultivation? Pa, what the F***CK are we going to do with it? Long Fei immediately gave up. Even a brainless person would not want the cultivation base of Little Japan. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Spirit of the Ghost King. After pausing for half a moment, the system beep did not make a sound again. Long Fei was a little puzzled. Damn, killing a boss and getting an item? This is too little, isn't it? It's a boss after all. Little Japan, you are too poor. With a look of contempt, Long Fei's right foot chopped down heavily, directly pushing East Ghost King's body down in the ground, while at the same time inspecting the Ghost King's soul. Item: Ghost King's Spirit, upgradable, grade, semi-god attribute. Evil, spiritual division description. It can absorb the undead of a dead person. It can be used in battle and can only absorb one undead at a time. Is that so? It can absorb a dead person's soul? I can still level up. The items are not bad. Long Fei played with the idea and suddenly moved it towards the dead East Ghost King. Go ahead and absorb. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining East Ghost King's undead. Do you want to summon them? Yes, sir. The figure of the East Ghost King appeared in front of Long Fei and immediately greeted respectfully. Master! Long Fei grinned. With a flip of his hand, he smashed down with his palm, directly shattering East Ghost King's undead. Awesome. F***CKU. He would not be satisfied if he killed them once without venting his anger. He would not be satisfied if he killed them once without venting his anger. Then kill again. The Ghost King token could absorb the undead and kill them again. This way, the East Ghost King wouldn't even be able to kill ghosts. Completely gone. Scum, you dare to bully my Huaxia? Is this great? Long Fei said fiercely. However, just when Long Fei had killed the undead that he had summoned, a crack had appeared on his Ghost King token. This was because Long Fei had done this in a violation of the rules. Who would kill the undead they summoned? This was extremely harmful to the Ghost King token. That's why there were cracks. However, Long Fei did not care at all. If he could kill one of the people from the Eastern Ocean continent, not to mention the cracks, even if the entire Ghost King token would be broken, he would not care at all. After finishing the East Ghost King, Long Fei picked up the spatial formula from the ground. The aura of the ancient dragon body retracted. Poochie. His body staggered, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. It was almost unbearable. It was as if his body had suddenly become 10,000 times heavier. He plopped down on the ground, his face turning pale in an instant. F***CK. As expected, it's a law of the same plane. I can easily use the power of eternity in universal realm, but in ancient world, Long Fei's heart sank. His cultivation had yet to reach that level of strength. If he used some of his strength, it would only become a burden for him. His body wouldn't be able to withstand it. The explosion of the power of eternity just now had already exceeded the limits of what he could endure. At this moment, Long Fei had already suffered from a very serious internal injury. If it weren't for the fact that his physical body was extremely tough, he would have been crippled by now. "My honey, what's wrong?" Phoenix quickly ran up, and when she saw Long Fei's pale face, she immediately wanted to take out a pill from the space ring. Long Fei's eyes lightly shook and said, "I'm fine." Lu Luoxi also quickly walked up and took out a spirit pellet. He stuffed it into Long Fei's mouth immediately, regardless of whether Long Fei agreed or not, and said, "You're already this injured, and you still say that you're okay?" His face was pale, and he lacked spiritual energy. Long Fei's bones seemed like they were about to fall apart. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to take it at all. Long Fei laughed and said, "Thank you." Lu Luoxi didn't know why, but the corners of her eyes flashed with tears. She looked at Long Fei and said, "Quickly stop talking, take a rest first." Phoenix giggled and said, "Beautiful big sister, have you fallen for my husband?" "Heh." Lu Luoxi's eyes turned cold as he said, "No way." Phoenix smiled and said, "Don't deny it. It's not like I'm against it. Anyway, my husband is determined to chase after you." Long Fei glared at Phoenix and said, "Child, don't speak nonsense." Phoenix stuck out her tongue playfully, chuckled, and said, "Beautiful big sister, my honey is handsome, right? I think he is the most handsome, most powerful man in the world. If I were to marry him, I will definitely become the happiest woman in the world." Lu Luoxi smiled, but did not reply. Indeed, the man in front of him was not bad. He was different from the other men in ancient antiquity. But her heart only belonged to that man. Even if that man wasn't in this world, her heart wouldn't waver for any man. Seeing that Lu Luoxi's eyes had turned cold, Long Fei knew that he did not have much hope and closed his eyes slightly, guiding the spirit energy of the spirit pellet to heal the wound. Phoenix half squatted beside Long Fei, supported her cheeks. She asked excitedly, "So handsome. Why is there such a handsome person?" He. Lu Luoxi stood up and looked at the other side with cold eyes. What's going on? Why is there not a single ghost in the Nantian city? Is he trying to trick us?" "Exactly. This doesn't make sense. For the past 100 years, everyone who returned from the Nantian city said that the Nantian city was in extreme danger and that all the ghosts in there were dead. Why haven't we seen any of them today? He must be afraid of our god's sword child. Young master is born with an ancient sword soul and has heaven-defying talent. These spirits wouldn't dare to come out. If the young master hadn't come, just a few of us would have already been torn to pieces by the specters." The sound of the horses fawning continued. God's sword child's face was full of pride. At the same time, he also thought that it was because of him. If it wasn't for him, perhaps all the ghosts would have rushed out. The group of people passed through the Nantian city with incomparable ease. God's sword child looked at the 4 coiling dragon pillars in the distance and asked slightly, "Has junior sister already entered? Didn't they say that there are 3 doors in the South Heaven Gate? Why did it become a door? Damn, they are all liars. Young master, I did not see senior sister Lu. What should we do?" I heard that each of the 3 entrances of the coiling dragon pillar are extremely dangerous. They are either filled with thorns, demon beast, or an extremely dangerous place. It's impossible to pass through. Fuck, can these legends still be believed? There's only 1 door, and it's not 3 at all. God's sword child coldly snorted. "With me here, what are you afraid of?" As soon as he finished, immediately, there was another series of flattery. Not long later, the group reached the summit. Looking at the gate formed by the coiling dragon pillars, God's sword child was unperturbed and stepped inside. The minions behind him also carefully walked in with fear on their faces. Everyone went in. The world they entered was the same as Long Fei's, because Long Fei had already finished arranging the magic cube matrix, which meant that the quest had already been deciphered, and everyone who entered would be here. I told you it was a lie. Where's the danger? Where are the thorns? Where's the demon beast? Where was the despair? This group of idiots are making me afraid to come. I must teach them a good lesson when I get back. It was completely different from the guide. At this time, one of the disciples pointed in the distance and said, "Young master, it's senior sister Lu." God's sword child raised his gaze and looked at Lu Luoshi in the distance. After tidying up his hair and clothes, he walked up with a look of a gentleman. Lu Luoshi also saw God's sword child and the others walk over, and they were looking at Long Fei from the side. Long Fei was still healing. Lu Luoshi frowned. "Junior sister, we meet again so soon." God's sword child walked up and looked at Lu Luoshi with a faint smile on his face. Lu Luoshi took a step forward and coincidentally blocked Long Fei's line of sight and asked, "Why are you here?" God's sword child said, "I already said that I would help you complete your mission." Lu Luoshi replied, "No need. The mission is already completed." At this moment, one of the lackeys pointed at Long Fei and said, "Young master, that trash seems to be meditating to heal his injuries." Phoenix immediately raged. "My husband is not trash." Lu Luoshi said, "Senior brother, we have already completed the first stage of the mission. There is nothing left here." "Completed?" The god's sword child's gaze turned sinister as he laughed coldly. "Who completed it?" "The standard for completion is to bring back a square stone." "Where's the stone?" "Hand it over." For the past 100 years, no one had completed the three gods' mission. For the past 100 years, no one had completed the three gods' mission. At the beginning, many people tried. However, as time passed, no one attempted this task because they knew that no one could complete it, but now someone had finished it. 800 task credit rewards would be secondary. The key was to create a sensation. If you completed a mission that not even the elders dared to attempt, then what kind of sensation would it create? A good name is inevitable. More importantly, he would definitely receive more injuries from the elders and might even receive a reward from the sect master. How great was this glory? Any disciple would want it. The god sword child did not lack points. What he lacked was a sensation. If it was him who completed the mission, then the entire inner sect would probably be in an uproar. With a reputation, would they be afraid of losing resources? Are you afraid of not having a woman? Moreover, no one would come to this mission, so no one would know about the disharmony that had occurred here. Thus, the god's sword child did not hesitate anymore. He smiled and said, "Junior sister, just hand over the square stone and count the mission points as mine. You could take the points. In addition, you are my woman. How is it? You got a beautiful man like me and also got points." God's sword child shamelessly said. Phoenix directly said, "How shameless." Lu Luoshi knew what he was going to do from the look in God's sword child's eyes and said indifferently, "Senior brother, I can't agree to all of these things you have said. You know that I did this mission for a few points and also for my master. I came here this time to tell Master that if something were to happen to me, I believe Master would know about it." Her master was the third elder of the Sword Elf Mountain. He had great power. God's sword child could not afford to offend him. However, God's sword child laughed and said, "Junior sister, you can scare others, but you can scare me. But it won't work. If your master agreed, would you rob the black market for the teleportation tokens?" A person who is fighting over a teleportation order in the black market. Where's she going? Who could prove she was here? Even if I die here, who would know? Lu Luoshi's gaze darkened. Indeed, she stole a transfer order from the black market. If she wanted to use the teleportation formation, she needed a teleportation token. This token was only in the hands of an elder, and her master had always disapproved of her wasting her time on this mission. She would never give him a teleportation token. Seeing the secretly changed expression on Lu Luoshi's face, God's sword child smiled and said, "Junior sister, I think it's best if you think about it carefully. Give me the stone, be my woman. Is the inner sect not our world in the future? Don't worry, I'll take good care of you." Ha. When God's sword child thought about these scenes, he could not help but laugh. The ancient antiquities goddess was about to be pressed down by him. He was going to be his woman, completing the god's mission and also obtaining a goddess. This way the impact would be even greater. He, the god's sword child, would definitely become the #1 person in the ancient antiquity. Lu Luoshi said, and if I say no, God's sword child took a step forward and his smile became sinister. He said lightly, Junior sister, I think you should think it over carefully. As you know, I don't have much patience and I have to get what I want. I want the stone as well, and I want her body as well. God's sword child spoke very straightforwardly. Several lackeys surrounded him, all of them smiling in ridicule. Phoenix angrily said, You dare to bully a beautiful big sister? My husband will definitely not let you off. That trash from the swordsman rank. Ha! They won't let us go? I'm really scared. Will he hit me? Will it hurt? Oh my God, even I am trembling. Swordsman rank, such a powerful person, Ha! The surrounding people mocked crazily. Lu Luoshi protected the phoenix behind him and said, Senior brother, your cultivation is only a little higher than mine. If I used all of my strength, even if I wasn't your match, you would probably still be injured. As she spoke, her gaze landed on Long Fei, who was behind her. God's sword child took another step forward and laughed. Junior sister, I don't want to do this either, but if you force me, then there's nothing I can do. I've already said it. As long as you hand over the stone and obediently become my woman, I'll do whatever you say. Lu Luoshi's eyes turned cold, and he said, Is there nothing to discuss? God's sword child said, No. The aura on Lu Luoshi's body trembled slightly. Suddenly, something happened. With a move of the long sword, the sword light flashed like lightning, and Lu Luoshi's figure flashed, directly rushing towards God's sword child. His speed was incredibly fast. As long as he could control the God's sword child in one move, the other people would not have a chance. But God's sword child smiled faintly and said, You want to use the sword in front of me? You should think about what my ancient talent is. It's a sword spirit. Buzz! Both of his hands formed claws, and strength stripes appeared on his fingers. Facing Lu Luoshi's sword that was suddenly thrusted at him, he made a controlling motion with his hands. It immediately bound the long sword. He couldn't pierce it at all. Lu Luoshi's eyes darkened. He wanted to pull the sword out. However, similarly, the sword could not be pulled out. Lu Luoshi immediately threw away his sword. His hands turned into palms, slashing towards God's sword child. HNG. Junior sister, I've always been on your side. Do you think that your cultivation is my opponent? God's sword child was calm and collected. Seeing Lu Luoshi's palm strike towards him, he flipped his left hand and sent a palm strike back at him. Boom! The two palms connected. Lu Luoshi quickly retreated and didn't wait for her to stabilize herself. God's sword child's figure disappeared. In the next second, Lu Luoshi's pupils tightened as a wave of energy came from behind her and struck her back with a palm. Poochie! After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Lu Luoshi fell to the ground. His face turned pale. God's sword child walked forward and laughed. Junior sister, you're too weak, huh? Lu Luoshi's eyes darkened. Phoenix suddenly ran in front of Lu Luoshi, opened her arms, and said, I won't allow you to bully my beautiful big sister. God's sword child laughed. I am not interested in little girls, but this is the first time seeing such an exquisite little girl, brothers. Are you interested? Ha! Young master, I like the little lowly. God's sword child laughed. Then why aren't you coming over? Lu Luoshi said heavily. She is still a child. You can't hurt her. Phoenix was not afraid at all. She replied, I'm not afraid of you. The God's sword child sneered and said, I will make you scared. Take her away. I want to go with my goddess. At this moment, God's sword child paused for a moment before he stopped. Not far away, a cold voice rang out. Try touching them. Move them and give it a try. Move them and give it a try. His voice was very cold. It was as though it had been transmitted from the infernal realm. Not far away, Long Face slowly stood up, his eyes staring straight at God's sword child. The God's sword child trembled slightly, and the surrounding people also stopped, all looking at Long Fei in unison. Time seemed to stop. There was a pause for a few seconds. Poochie, one of the lackeys, couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ha! Swordsman scum, were you the one who just spoke? What did I just say? Are you telling us not to touch the two of them? Damn, look at his eyes. They're so scary. I'm so scared. I almost laughed to death from fright. Ha ha ha. A few lackeys started to laugh at him. Swordsman rank? In the ancient antiquity, they had never seen anyone with a cultivation lower than the sword faction. How dare a swordsman act so arrogantly in front of them? You must be tired of living. One must know that they were all inner disciples, and all of their cultivations were master swordsman rank S. If it was a level, it would be several tens of levels higher than Long Fei. How could he be scared by Long Fei? When he was in the outer sect, he was scared by Long Fei once, and he was extremely unhappy in his heart. Here, he absolutely would not be scared of Long Fei again, and he sneered, "You dare act so arrogantly in front of me as a piece of trash? Brat, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Were you?" One of the lackeys immediately said, "Trash. Did you hear what my young master said? Who do you think you are? Try moving one of them? Your father is going to make his move today." While they were talking, he was about to grab hold of Phoenix's long hair. When his hand was just 1 centimeter away from touching the Phoenix's hair, Long Fei disappeared. Huff! A heavy sound of breathing could be heard. It was as if there was the sound of breathing from some huge demon beast. In an instant, with a blood-curdling screech, an arm flew out and blood spurted out from a wound. My hand. That lackey covered his wound with his hand and howled like a pig in pain. His face was incomparably pale. It was also at this moment that another person appeared beside Phoenix. Long Fei. He held the sword in his hand, with blood dripping down the tip. Long Fei's eyes were cold, and she said indifferently, "I already said, do not touch them." Everyone's eyes widened. One of the lackeys quickly helped Luo Feng up, and the lackey immediately roared, "Young master, without him, young master will take revenge for me." In that instant, Godsword Child didn't even manage to see clearly how Long Fei had come here. His speed was extremely fast. Even he might not be able to do it. Godsword Child frowned. He did not impulsively charge forward, but stared straight at Long Fei. Lu Luoshi also quickly stood next to Long Fei and said, "It's best for you to quickly leave. You have also seen the sword strike just now. Even if it's you, you wouldn't be able to do it." God's Sword Child's gaze turned sinister once again, and when he saw Lu Luoshi standing beside Long Fei, he felt even more unhappy. He did not attack. He did not leave. Instead, he looked at Long Fei and smiled. "From the looks of it, you seem to have suffered from internal injuries, right? Otherwise, the sword attack just now would not have severed an arm, but would have taken his life." Lu Luoshi's eyes moved. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "You're right. I'm injured, and not light at that." Lu Luoshi looked at Long Fei blankly, not understanding why Long Fei would expose himself. Long Fei continued, "But so what? To deal with trash like you, I can crush you to death with a single finger." An inner sect powerhouse of the immortal swordsman rank. Could he kill it with a finger? These words were a bit too arrogant. God Sword Child's brows tightened and said, "Brat, you're so arrogant." Long Fei said, "That's right, I am so arrogant. Either scram or die here." Just now, cutting off his hand was a chance for you too. Don't let me make a move again, otherwise I will not be a broken hand. While they were talking, the chi on Long Fei's body was suddenly released. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The air trembled violently as a powerful pressure swept over. The faces of the small fries changed. They could not bear the pressure from Long Fei's body and retreated one by one. He didn't dare to make any more sounds of ridicule. God's Sword Child stood at his original spot and said faintly, "A special ancient ability user? All right, kid, I admit defeat today. However, we won't let this matter go so easily. We'll see about that." God's Sword Child thought for a while, then said, "Let's go." He turned around and left. Phoenix said in disdain, "Who's the trash? You bunch of dregs. Don't go, don't go. Let's see if you still dare to bully my beautiful big sister. That whatever sword thing, don't leave." Phoenix jumped to her feet and shouted loudly. She looked very proud of herself. Lu Luoshi looked at Long Fei, and, in his heart, he did not know what to say. If not for Long Fei, she would probably, if she was tainted, how could she face that man? As he thought of this, a chill rose up in Lu Luoshi's heart. He looked at Long Fei and said, "Thank you." Before he could finish his words, Long Fei's eyes closed, and his entire body instantly fell backwards. The move he made just now was to forcefully use the power of the ancient dragon body, releasing the might of a dragon to suppress them. The stronger the body, the greater the internal injuries. Adding on the fact that Long Fei had forcefully released the ancient dragon body, his internal injuries worsened. Unable to bear the pain, his body fainted. Lu Luoshi was shocked. He immediately held onto Long Fei. Phoenix hurriedly supported him. "My honey, young master, just now my ass." God Sword Child's fury exploded, his leg kicking the disciple who spoke, his eyes shooting fire. That disciple was kicked over and kneeled on the ground, not daring to say another word. God Sword Child was extremely angry. He is clearly a swordsman, yet you possess such powerful strength? The God Sword Child said solemnly. One of the lackeys said, "Young master, if he really is a special ancient ability user, his talent should be chosen by the elders. Why is he not from the Shin sect? Is there a problem with his talent? There must be a reason why he wasn't chosen. Young master, the first time we didn't get selected, there are still 2 months left before the outer court disciple test." As soon as he finished, God Sword Child immediately said, "Is he the only one who wants to enter the inner sect? Dream on. Investigate. Immediately investigate everything about him. I want to know what his innate talent is. You wish to enter the inner sect. It's impossible for you to do so in your entire life." God Sword Child gritted his teeth as he spoke. While in a coma, Long Fei's internal injuries were severe. Internal injury caused by someone who has exceeded the limit of what can be endured. Damn it. Long Fei's consciousness was very clear. He felt as if his body had fallen apart. This kind of medicine was completely useless against internal injuries. One had to know that Long Fei's internal injuries were caused by the power of the ancient dragon body, so even divine-level medicinal pellets were useless. There was only one way to recover as soon as possible. Upgrade. Luckily, we scared away the entire group of God Sword Child. Otherwise, Long Fei didn't dare to think further. If he didn't scare them, then Lu Luoshi and the Phoenix would have met with calamity. It's a hard hit level. The idea moved. Refined space? Long Fei entered the refined space's sword sect. He began to train. He had to level up. His severely injured body had a huge impact on his cultivation in the refined space. His cultivation speed was not even half of what it was before. But Long Fei couldn't stop. He had to recover. The inner sect had already offended Lin Yuan, and now with the addition of the God Sword Child S, if they returned to the sect with injuries, something would definitely happen. Huff! Long Fei crazily refined his own body, and at the same time continued to nourish his sword heart. Training madly. My honey's aura is very stable. There shouldn't be any life-threatening dangers. Beautiful big sister, don't worry. Phoenix could feel that Long Fei's body was very stable. No danger to his life. Even if there was, she had a way to save it. Lu Luoshi looked at the Phoenix. She could not even feel Long Fei's smooth chi, and a young lady without any cultivation could even feel it. She was confused and could not help but ask, "Who exactly are you people?" His cultivation is only at swordsman rank, but his explosive power is even stronger than our Sword Immortal realms, and that kind of pressure is completely not released from a human's body. It's like he's a divine beast. Phoenix giggled and said, "My husband must be powerful." Lu Luoshi said, "Impressive. This is not a power that we mortals can wield. I feel that the chi on your bodies are all special. You guys aren't powerhouse that came down a train, right? Even a swordsman with great ancient talent wouldn't be this strong. It was simply impossible. Either they were concealing their cultivation, or they were special people." which is also the almighty powerhouse of the divine space. Phoenix said, even the powerhouse of the divine space is not as powerful as my husband. She was completely a decoy for Long Fei. In her eyes, Long Fei was the strongest person in the world. Lu Luoxi laughed, knowing that he wouldn't get an answer from Phoenix's mouth. Phoenix laughed and said, Elder sister, did you get attracted to my honey? AI, don't worry, I will definitely not stop you two from being together. A man as strong as my husband should have many women serving him. If Long Fei were to hear this, he would probably be moved to a complete mess. Lu Luoxi shook his head and said, he is not bad, but I already have someone in my heart. Phoenix pouted and said, is he as strong as my husband? Is he as handsome as my husband? Will my husband protect you? He's not even with you. Lu Luoxi said, he is more handsome than anyone. He is stronger than me. He will use his life to protect me. Although he is not by my side, I know that it will not be long before I can find him. When he returned to the mission this time, he would be able to obtain 800 task credit, which would allow him to exchange for the right to use the Seek Mirror once. At that time, she would know where he was. No matter where he was, she would find him. They had even left the ancient world and entered a lower realm. To her, Long Fei was everything. Looking at Lu Luoxi's blissful expression, the Phoenix sighed, looked at Long Fei, and said, my honey, I tried my best. Lu Luoxi caressed Phoenix's head and said, you are that fond of your my honey and want to find many women. That way, his love for you will be divided amongst the others. Phoenix immediately replied, no way. My honey is so strong. Shouldn't Powerhouse have a lot of women? Lu Luoxi laughed. You're already thinking about this at such a young age. I truly admire you. Phoenix smiled and said, I'm not small. When my memories come back, I will be even older than you. After saying that, Phoenix's eyes became cold. She realized that she had said something that she shouldn't have said and immediately changed the topic. Elder sister, can the Seek Mirror really find the person you're looking for? Lu Luoxi nodded his head and said, of course, Seek Mirror can find the person in your heart. If they can't, maybe he is no longer in this world. This was what she was most worried about. She was worried that Long Fei was no longer in this world. Phoenix muttered to herself, I'm also worried about a person, but I don't know who that person is. When I return home, I'll also ask my aunt to get me some Seek Mirror to play with. At that time, I can find whoever I want. Phoenix looked at Lu Luoxi's longing eyes and said, elder sister, you will definitely find him. If he's no longer in this world, can you consider finding my honey? Lu Luoxi rolled his eyes at Phoenix. You little girl. Phoenix giggled. How is it? Think about it. Lu Luoxi stood up, looked into the distance, and muttered, he will be in this world. He must still be alive. If he isn't in this world, there's no meaning in me living any longer. Little girl, my heart can only hold one person. If this person is no more, then my heart will also die. In Lu Luoxi's heart, it was only that man. Even if he couldn't wait, he wouldn't be so devoted to the second man. Even if this man was outstanding, she would still be the same. For 100 years, she had faced all sorts of temptations. However, she can keep her heart. Long Zhanting had arranged for her to stay here precisely to wait for Long Fei's appearance. She believed that Long Fei would come to the ancient world. She believed she could have him. He firmly believed in it. It might be silly, but she was willing to be so stupid, because Long Fei had fought for her life before. In this life, if you meet someone who is willing to risk his or her life for you, then that person must be cherished. Half a day passed. Long Fei stayed in the refined space for a full 5 days. Finally, buzz! As if a heavy stone door had been pushed open, enveloped in golden light. Long Fei felt an indescribable pleasure within the golden light. Internal injury on his body healed. The pain disappeared. With the health point, the mana, and all of its attributes were restored to full. Huff! Long Fei let out a long breath and said, I've finally leveled up. He opened his eyes. He woke up. When the phoenix saw Long Fei awaken, It jumped out of joy and directly threw itself on a Long Fei's body, saying, "My honey, you've finally awakened." Lu Luoshi looked at the phoenix with envy. "My honey, is it still painful? My honey, is it still painful? Where are you feeling uncomfortable? I'll help you." The phoenix was like a little sparrow, constantly chattering. She immediately helped Long Fei hug her shoulder and hammered her leg. She looked exactly like a little servant and looked as if she was very happy. Long Fei replied, "I'm fine." Lu Luoshi looked at Long Fei, and she did not seem to be injured at all, as if she had recovered completely in an instant. Long Fei replied, "Small wound, fine." Phoenix said, "What do you mean nothing? You even fainted just now." Lu Luoshi was not blind. She had seen how much internal injuries Long Fei had suffered, but after half a day of training, complete recovery? This is too amazing. However, Lu Luoshi thought that Long Fei probably didn't want her to see it. Long Fei took out the magic cube stone and said, "This is the stone that you handed in for the mission, right?" Lu Luoshi looked at the stone in Long Fei's hand, and her gaze tensed up slightly as she said, "This mission was completed by you, and all the rewards should be yours." Long Fei laughed. "You were the one who accepted the mission. I can't receive such a high-level mission. Take the stone back, but don't come back here anymore. The mission after will be even more difficult." He could say so. In this world, there was probably no one other than him who could accomplish this kind of mission. The magic cube was simply too difficult to put together. There's only one true method out of hundreds of millions of people. With just a single wrong step, they would all be wrong. This was also thanks to the technology space Long Fei had. Otherwise, it would have been useless. Lu Luoshi looked far ahead of him, was the second stage of the quest, the Heavenly Court. She couldn't even get through the first stage, let alone the second stage. Lu Luoshi said, "Then Long Fei threw the stone onto Lu Luoshi's body and said, "Take it. This time, even I have to thank you for bringing us out. If it wasn't for Lu Luoshi, he wouldn't have gotten the repression of Boundary Stone's fragments." Compared to task reward, he was more concerned with the repression of Boundary Stone's fragments. This small fragment contained an incomparable amount of power, but Long Fei had yet to unearth it. The repression of Boundary Stones was a heavenly divine stone that could even suppress the strongest state Long Batian was in. Its strength was definitely not ordinary. Moreover, if Lu Luoshi were to give this stone to her, he would only be able to complete the mission. However, who would know that a special stone had already been obtained by Long Fei? Just as he had expected. Spatial rocks. Force, spatial transfer. Description, unknown usage. Unknown, I don't know how to use it. Long Fei was not in a rush. He was still unable to summon the infinite boxing, and he needed to level up once again. When he could summon out the infinite boxing, then, soul rocks, spatial rocks, the strength of these two stones. When Long Fei thought of that scene, even her chrysanthemum tightened slightly. She was looking forward to it. Lu Luoshi said gratefully, "Thank you." She didn't say anything else. Everything was in the words "thank you." She would repay this favor in the future. Long Fei said, "You don't have to be so polite with me." Phoenix sighed and said, "It's a pity that Big Sister already has someone she loves. Otherwise," Long Fei rolled his eyes at her and said, "All right, let's go back." He knew that Lu Luoshi couldn't wait any longer. She wanted to rush back to the Seek Mirror to exchange for her beloved one. Actually, Long Fei was also waiting for Lu Luoshi to use the Seek Mirror. If she found the one that meant that she wasn't the woman she was before, then if she couldn't find his memory seal, Long Fei changed her appearance. He did not know if Lu Luoshi could find anything good either. Sigh, let nature take its course. Long Fei was too lazy to think too much. The only goal for him to enter the ancient world was to get rid of the Emperor Xian. This goal was everything. The three of them left Nantian City, returning to the outer sect of ancient antiquity. Lu Luoshi went a hand in her mission. Long Fei and Phoenix returned to their tattered little courtyard. It had already been a few days since they left, and he wondered how Bailey Tianhai and Xiao were doing. Someone for the South Heaven Gate has passed through the 3 God missions. Someone has completed the mission. Oh my God, just who is so awesome? It's the goddess. Is the goddess senior sister of the Sword Elf Mountain? This is unbelievable. He actually completed the mission of God. Whether it was the outer or inner sect disciples, both of them caused a huge stir. Lu Luoshi's name, once again, shook the entire ancient antiquity. This time, it wasn't because of her beauty, but because of the god's mission. Ancient antiquity, main peak. In an elegant courtyard, an old man sat under a peach tree, reading an ancient book. At this time, the small courtyard door was suddenly pushed open, and a disciple holding a round box quickly walked into the small courtyard. He walked in front of the elder and said, "Great clan elder, this is the task goal used to pass through South Heaven Gate." The old man frowned. He suddenly stood up, looked at the round box, and asked, "Who completed the mission?" The disciple said, "It's senior sister Lu Luoshi from Sword Elf Mountain." The old man was stunned. "Is that the one ranked first on the goddess ranking?" The disciple replied, "Yes." The old man said, "Her cultivation level wasn't that outstanding. I didn't think she would be able to complete my mission. It is as I had expected. The mission was issued by him. He was the one who discovered the Nantion City S and the South Heaven Gate. Moreover, he was the first to enter." The elder smiled and said, "Put the things down. You may leave." When the disciple left the courtyard, the old man picked up the round box and said, "It was actually broken by a female disciple. It doesn't seem to be the same as the prophecy." As expected, prophecy is a prophecy. Some prophecies can't be realized. The old man opened the round box, looked at the square stone, and smiled. But right at this moment, his smile suddenly froze as his forehead tightened. He picked up the rock with one hand and tried to sense it. His pupils darkened. The ore inside is gone. At this time, Sword Elf Mountain, Lu Luoshi did not stop for a moment on the way back. It could be said that she used the fastest time to return to her residence, changed into a set of clean clothes, and headed towards the exchanging hall of the Sword Elf Mountain. What she wanted was inside the Sword Elf Mountain's exchange hall. How many years had it been? She finally accumulated enough points to exchange for a Seek Mirror. She was extremely excited. His heart was beating wildly. "I'm going to find you." Lu Luoshi came to the exchanging hall and selected her Seek Mirror. The service disciple said, "Senior sister, Seek Mirror can only be used once. Are you sure you want to exchange for it?" Lu Luoshi said, "I'm sure." Serving the disciple said, "Okay. Deducting the points, you can go to the secret room and use the Seek Mirror now." Lu Luoshi walked into the hidden room, looked at the special mirror, and strongly swallowed her saliva. She said, "Long Fei, I'm about to find you." The search room was a very special place. Surrounding him were carvings or floating stars. These stars were arranged in a very special way, forming a small formation. The Seek Mirror was the eye of the formation. Lu Luoshi walked up to the platform and stood in the center of the secret room, looking at the big mirror with excitement in his heart. Crack, clang. The entrance opened up for a moment. Then one of the junior brothers said, "Senior sister, the Seek Mirror has started. You should try to sense the person you are looking for and think about it. His name, his identity, what he did. Think of everything you know and create a link with the Seek Mirror. Only then can the Seek Mirror find the person you're looking for." Lu Luoshi said, "Thank you, junior brother." The disciple faintly smiled and said, "Senior sister, I wish you good luck in finding the person you are looking for." Then, the disciple closed the door of the search room. He clasped his hands together, looked at the Seek Mirror, and muttered, "The person I want to find is Long Fei. He is from the god's martial continent." He spoke slowly. At the same time, the surrounding star formations began to move. A peculiar power appeared in her mind. This power slowly seeped into her mind and began to form a link. Is this the power of a Seek Mirror? Please help me find him. I really miss him too much. Lu Luoshi prayed in his heart as he continuously thought about Long Fei's appearance in his mind. thinking about what had happened between him and her. He kept thinking about it. The link created from her longing for him, and the seek mirror was also getting stronger and stronger. The searching array formation in the secret room began to spin faster and faster. A few minutes later, all kinds of scenes and images appeared in Lu Luoshi's mind. All sorts of people's names were Long Fei, but not one of them was the person she was looking for. There were too many people with the same name. One by one, they rejected the idea. At the same time, she expressed her thoughts even more strongly as she concentrated her mental power. Buzz. 10 minutes later, the seek mirror gave a buzz. All links are broken. Lu Luoshi also instantly opened his eyes and looked at the seek mirror. The surface of the mirror slowly moved, and finally, a word appeared. None. None. Lu Luoshi's pupils shook. How could this be? How could it be nothing? Impossible. He is not even afraid of Emperor Xian. How can it be nothing? No. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I won't. Long Fei won't die. He will definitely be fine. It won't happen. Lu Luoshi's body trembled uncontrollably as she shook her head continuously. Her tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. I don't believe it. I won't believe it. He definitely won't die. Lu Luoshi seemed to have gone insane. The heart is in a state of collapse. What did the lack of words the seek mirror's appearance meant? On the surface, the person she was looking for wasn't in this world. All of them were nil. If he wasn't in this world, he would just be dead. She didn't believe it. Not at all. However, seek mirror never made a mistake. Even if she didn't believe it, she wouldn't accept it in her heart. Lu Luoshi walked out of the secret room in a daze, his entire face pale white. His mind was filled with dread, as if he had lost all hope in his life. It was the same as losing the motivation to live. She would always remember when Long Fei fought for her. For more than 100 years, she had been waiting for Long Fei to appear. For the past 100 years, she had never been tempted by any man. She only belonged to Long Fei. But now Long Fei was gone. Her heart felt like it had just died. The reason she lived was for Long Fei. Now that Long Fei was not around, what was the point in her life? Senior sister, what's wrong? Senior sister, do you want me to send you home? Senior sister. Lu Luoshi did not reply. She seemed to have become a soulless person as she stumbled, walking for who knows how long before she finally returned to her own courtyard. Everyone was looking at her along the way. I've never seen her like this. Returning back to his room, Lu Luoshi laid on the bed, looked up at the ceiling and muttered, I definitely won't. He won't die. He opened his eyes listlessly, as if he was dead. She lay in bed for a long time without blinking. Suddenly, she sat down and walked out of the room. Sword Elf Mountain Great Hall. The king of Sword Elves went out to welcome them, saying, Great Elder, what wind brought you here? The old man hugged his hands and laughed. I came to congratulate you, Brother Zhang. The mission that couldn't be completed in 100 years was accomplished by your disciple. The one who came was the great clan elder of the main hall. King of Sword Elves also knew that Lu Luoshi had completed the mission of a god. With a radiant face, he said with a smile, They are all disciples of the sect, and are all the glory of our ancient antiquity. The elder walked into the hall and said, That's right. Brother Zhang, may I know where that disciple is? I posted this mission. I want to know how she completed it. The old man was excited. He wanted to know how Lu Luoshi completed the mission. They also wanted to know who took away the magic cube stone. This was the reason he came to the Sword Elf Mountain. King of Sword Elves immediately said, Go and call Luoshi over. A disciple crossed his arms and said, Yes. King of Sword Elves said, Great clan elder, it is just a mission. You still have to personally receive it. Aren't you making a big fuss over nothing? Although he said this, he was exceptionally happy in his heart. It was also an honor for his disciple to be personally received by the great elder. The old man said, She is the only one to complete the mission in the past 100 years. I do not want to personally see her. You should know that if all 3 of the missions in the South Heaven Gate are completed, then one can obtain a chance to enter the divine space. King of Sword Elves said, "This is just a legend. Great Clan Elder is serious." The mission was issued by the Great Clan Elder, but so far no one had been able to pass. As for whether or not it was possible to enter the divine space in the end, that was unknown. However, no one would believe such a thing. What kind of existence was the divine space? If there was a shortcut to enter, then who would still cultivate? The elder smiled faintly, but did not explain. Although it was just a legend, he knew that there was a bit of a lucky chance inside, to have the chance to enter the divine space. Not long later, a disciple ran back anxiously and reporting to the Spirit King, "Senior Sister Lu is missing." King of Sword Elves was surprised. "Didn't you just come back? Why is it gone? Where did he go?" The center of disciples' brows tightened and said, "About this, I don't know either. Someone saw Senior Sister walk out of the Seek Mirror's secret room in a daze. This child, I can't let go of the obsession in my heart." The King of Sword Elves let out a soft sigh and said, "Go quickly. Can't you see that the Great Clan Elder is still waiting for her here? Where could she go?" Sword Elf Mountain was one of the 7 great mountains of ancient antiquity. Its area was extremely large, and finding a person was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Sword Elf Mountain was one of the 7 great mountains of ancient antiquity. Its area was extremely large, and finding a person was like looking for a needle in a haystack, not to mention the entire ancient antiquity. Moreover, the Seek Mirror had just been used up and had exhausted all of its energy. It was also impossible for them to search for the same Seek Mirror. "Master, I've searched everywhere that the senior sister would go, but didn't find anything." The person could not be found. King of Sword Elves' expression was slightly unsightly. He apologized to the Great Clan Elder and said, "This disciple's personality is a bit wild, running around every day. As his master, I do not care. So be it." The Great Elder smiled. "Brother Zhang, you're too serious. Since we can't find her, I will leave first. I just want to know how she completed the mission. It's just a pity. I really want to see her." The old man sighed softly. King of Sword Elves could tell that the Great Clan Elder valued Lu Luoshi greatly as the person who completed his mission, and said, "Don't worry, Great Clan Elder. Once I find her, I will personally bring her to Main Hall to see you." The elder nodded. "Then I'll be troubling Brother Zhang." Hugging his fists together, the elder took a step out of the hall and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The speed was so fast that even King of Sword Elves could not see it clearly. He was the leader of the Sword Elf Mountain. His cultivation had reached King Swordsman. His identity was also the most respected person other than the Sect Master. Sword Spirit Mountain, the head of the 6 peaks. How honorable was the status of the King of Sword Elves. However, in front of the old man from before, King of Sword Elves always slightly bent his body when he spoke, because the Great Elder's identity was even more unique. Other than his cultivation, the only other thing that was special about him was his identity. Aside from the Sect Master, he was the strongest existence. Based on the speed just now, it was impossible for the King of Sword Elves to reach that level. His deep cultivation was only one of the special places, and what was even more special was his identity, the messenger of the divine space. He was the only person in the ancient antiquity who had ever entered the divine space. With his status, even the Grandmaster had to be polite. If anyone from the ancient antiquity wanted to enter the divine space, they would have to be recommended by him. He was like a person who had control over the life and death of the ancient antiquity. It was also because of this that the King of Sword Elves treated him with extreme respect. After the Great Clan Elder left, King of Sword Elves' face was filled with anger. She slammed her palm on the chair, and the chair made of gold silk sauna wood was instantly turned into powder. She bellowed, running around the entire time and ignoring the rules of Sword Elf Mountain. "Does she even have a master like me?" A disciple said. "Master, Junior Sister must be in a hurry for something." The King of Sword Elves stared at him. "Ling Yuan, don't you stand up for your junior sister. As the great senior brother of Sword Elf Mountain, You are the first disciple to step into the king's swordsman rank. Tell me, how is it that you, a sword cultivator, can't even tame a girl? Sword Elf Mountain Great Senior Brother, Ling Yuan. King's swordsman rank. He was the strongest disciple in the Sword Elf Mountain, and also the youngest king's swordsman disciple in the entire ancient antiquity. They wanted to train him into a disciple who could enter the divine space. They wanted to betroth Lu Luoshi to him. However, his rejection because of Lu Luoshi's disagreement made King of Sword Elves very angry. Lu Luoshi was very talented. Ling Yuan's talent was also great. The combination of the two would be even stronger and would be of great help to their cultivation. However, Ling Yuan just did not want to make things difficult for Lu Luoshi. King of Sword Elves asked, "Do you like Lu Luoshi?" Ling Yuan said. King of Sword Elves said, "You like it, right? If I like you, then don't care so much. I'm her master, so whatever I say doesn't matter even if she disagrees. The easiest way for you to get a woman to fall in love with you is to get her body first. Women remember the first special occasion in their hearts. There are a lot of things that you can't wait for the results to come out. You have to do them to get results, understand? Love is made. There was no end to such a silly waiting." Ling Yuan laughed bitterly. King of Sword Elves said, "This time is just a chance. Go and find Luo Shi. You guys go and see Great Clan Elder. I will also strongly recommend you to Sect Master. Once you have the chance to challenge the Divine Tribulation Realm, it will be fine." The Divine Tribulation Tao, the trials that mortal warriors had to go through to enter the divine space. It could also be called a calamity. Only those who had passed the tribulation of the divine way were qualified to enter the divine space. Ling Yuan had been preparing to enter the divine space for the rest of his life, but he didn't want to do it this way. King of Sword Elves looked at Ling Yuan's silly expression and let out a long sigh, thinking to himself, "Ling Yuan, this is your last chance. If you don't hurry up and make a move, Lu Luoshi might have to marry someone else." Last time, among the few powerhouses that came from the divine space, one of the young disciples took a fancy to Lu Luoshi. Facing the powerhouse of the divine space, the ancient antiquity would only be crushed. Asking the ancient antiquity to provide a few women, the sect leader didn't dare disobey. Moreover, to these girls, this was the best opportunity of their lives. Anyone could dream of entering the divine space. It was possible that not too long from now, the divine space's powerhouse would bring Lu Luoshi away if he were to come to the ancient antiquity again. King of Sword Elves did not say it out loud. The fact that the powerhouse of the divine space had descended upon the ancient antiquity was an absolute secret. Ling Yuan said, "Master, Junior Sister might have gone to the outer sect to play. I will go look." King of Sword Elves waved his hand and said, "Go." Ling Yuan left the hall. King of Sword Elves let out a long sigh. "Big brother, this is the blood demon beast meat that we bought today. Are we really going to set up a barbecue stand? This is too much, isn't it?" When Long Fei returned in the morning, he did not send anyone to cause trouble for the past few days. Bailey Tianhai and Zhao Dehan had also been cultivating behind closed doors for the past few days. They now knew that they were not in Sea City, and if they did not want to be bullied, there's only one way to become stronger. Long Fei nodded his head and said, "And since you guys feel that it is beneath the price, then you guys can stay at home and cultivate. I will go myself." Phoenix raised her hand and said, "And me, I want to go as well." No matter what, Bailey Tianhai was the city lord's son. When did he ever do such a lowly job? However, Long Fei was going, and he wanted to go as well. Bailey Tianhai said, "Since boss is going, how can I not go?" Zhao Dehan laughed and said, "Me too. I'm in charge of errands." Long Fei pushed the wooden wheel carriage he had prepared in the afternoon and waved his hand, saying, "I'm out of the stall. I'm going to use my roasted meat to conquer this world." The group of four walked out of the small courtyard. Earning money is the key. The currency here is the Holy Source Stone. If Long Fei wanted to cultivate faster, then he would need a lot of Holy Source Stones. When they arrived at the night market, The sky had already darkened. When they arrived at the night market, the sky had already darkened. The barbecue stalls began to pay for it. Long Fei and the others who had just arrived could only be placed in a remote corner. Zhao Dehan set up a few simple little wooden tables. Long Fei was burning charcoal. The little phoenix stood at the intersection, constantly shouting, roasted meat, the most delicious barbecue meat in history. 1 bite is something you'll never forget. 2 bites will cause your cultivation to soar. Come quickly. Just like a happy little sparrow. Long Fei looked at her, and he couldn't help but laugh. Many people on the street were looking at them. Isn't that the junior brother who joined the ancient antiquity with us? It's not them. I didn't think they would fall to the stage of setting up a barbecue stand. How come they can't get away so quickly? They deserve it. Who else can they not offend? An even offended elder of Inner House S. Did you guys see that, the Luby word? That idiot even said that he had some kind of ancient inherent skill that was sent flying by senior brother Lin Yuan's attack. From what I see, his ancient inherent skill must be a retard, right? Haha. And that guy, what forebrain genius, he was clearly selected by the elders, but he stood up for another trash and ruined his future. I think all 4 of his brains are filled with water. Ha! Another round of laughter. If I had to say so, the most trashy one would be that kid. What blood vein? A trash blood vein. The aura emitted by the blood vein was extremely scary, but it's just a piece of trash. Most importantly, it's because of him that Bailey Tian Hai did not enter the inner sect. It's good enough to offend the elder of Inner House now, but they still want to stay in the ancient antiquity? Serves him right. Many of the new disciples around them couldn't help but laugh at Long Fei and the others when they saw them. Bailey Tianhai was furious and wanted to seek their theory, but he was stopped by Long Fei. The dog bit you, and you have to bite it back? You know, they're just dogs that bark. Long Fei said indifferently. He had heard too much of this mockery. In his eyes, these people were completely unqualified for him to take a look. Kid, who are you calling a dog? Only you bunch of useless bastard or dogs, right? Forget it. Don't argue with a group of trash. Our identities have been destroyed. Come, let's go eat barbecue. I'll treat you today. Ha ha. Is not to eat your food. The group of them walked over to the barbecue stall next to Long Fei and started to eat. Bailey Tianhai's face was sullen. He stared at the people laughing at him. Don't let me get the chance, or I'll make you guys angry. Long Fei laughed. No more words. As the sky darkened, the other barbecue stalls were bustling with business, but there was still no one at Long Fei's side. One was because he was a new stall. Furthermore, there were constantly people talking about how they had offended the elder of Inner House. No one came. The little phoenix's voice was hoarse, but it couldn't get a single guest. Bailey Tianhai saw that Long Fei was organized and orderly, and couldn't help but say, "Boss, is it okay? Why don't we just forget about it? There are many ways to make money, so there's no need for us to do this." Bailey Tianhai still found it hard to accept this kind of way to make a public appearance. Phoenix also walked up and said, "My honey, they are all bullying us. None of them are coming." Zhao Dehan swallowed his saliva as he watched Long Fei marinate the barbecue. Long Fei did not panic in the slightest and said, "Don't worry. I've been busy for a while, and I'm already hungry. I'll roast some food for you guys first." Bailey Tianhai immediately asked, "Boss, have you roasted meat before?" Long Fei laughed. "This is the first time in this world." Bailey Tianhai was startled and said, "Then it's over." Phoenix's eyes widened, her hands at her waist. My honey is not done for. No matter what he does, he's the most powerful. Humph. Long Fei looked at the Phoenix and smiled. Phoenix giggled and said, "My honey, can you give me a holy source stone? I want to go next door and buy some barbecue." Long Fei. Phoenix chuckled. Long Fei said, "Wait a moment. You will all want to swallow your tongue soon." Finished. Long Fei moved. Roast meat was the same as cultivation. One had to advance slowly, starting from the most basic of things. Meat selection, skewers, pickles, sauces were all very important. However, these were just the basics. The most important thing was to roast them and fuse them together with the ingredients. On top of the charcoal rack, Long Fei was constantly flipping and turning the meat. Not long after, the oil began to drip down, creating small sparks as it fell onto the charcoal. It was mixed with some seasonings, and the fragrance immediately began to leak out. The smell of burnt flesh permeated the air. The fragrance of meat wafted in the air. As the fire fused with the meat, he sprinkled some cumin onto it. With a bit of chili powder, the fragrance seemed to explode out. It attacked your taste buds. He kept swallowing his saliva before he even started to eat. Phoenix's saliva was already flowing out of the corner of her mouth, frantically swallowing it down, her eyes shining as she stared at the roast meat in Long Fei's hands, smacking her lips. Zhao Dehan's saliva was flowing out of the corner of his mouth like a waterfall. Bailey Tianhai's stomach growled as though he was playing zither. Long Fei's every movement was like an art form. Turn over, sprinkle, scrub. Flip again, and spread the material. Every time she did so, her grace was so great that others couldn't even move their eyeballs. The sound of charcoal cracking, oil on the roast meat pulsing in the air, everything was like a magnificent art. The barbecue crew next door were all dumbfounded by what they saw. Many people around them gulped as they smelled the fragrance. 10 minutes later, Long Fei picked up the roast meat, looked at the mouths of the 3 people dripping down his chest, and smiled. "All right, take it and eat." Without saying anything further, Phoenix snatched it away. She bit down on a piece of roasted meat and chewed it. The moment she swallowed it, her eyes blazed like a ball of fire. "It's too delicious. Woo-woo. I'm about to cry from the delicious food. Woo-woo." Phoenix was so excited that she did not pretend to eat. "I have never tasted anything so delicious in my life." Long Fei laughed. "Slow down, be careful." The Phoenix did not care about the string of food, its mouth full of grease and stains. Bailey Tianhai muttered from the side, "Is it that delicious?" After taking a bite of the roast meat, his entire body seemed to have been struck by lightning as he stood there in a daze. Looking at the roast meat in his hands, he said, Big brother, this is this really roast meat? How come I feel like this is the meat of a god? This is too delicious, isn't it? Moreover, I can feel the spirit energy in the meat, but it's not leaking at all. This roast meat. Wow, I don't want to talk anymore." He had gone completely crazy. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. Gudon, Gudon, Gudon. People kept swallowing their saliva. Seeing how Phoenix and the others were eating barbecue, the expression of enjoyment on their faces was completely different from the one they were eating. Moreover, the fragrance of the roasted meat was also something they had never experienced before, constantly stimulating their appetite. "My honey, I want more." Phoenix did not bother to wipe the grease off her mouth as she quickly ran in front of Long Fei and said, I also want to. My wife is too delicious." Bailey Tianhai also wolfed down his food. Looking at Long Fei with a face full of shock, he asked, "Big brother, what kind of roast meat is this? Oh my gosh, this is too delicious, isn't it? I've never eaten anything so delicious in my life." Zhao Dehan also excitedly said, "Delicious, delicious." In a foreign world where martial arts flourished, training was as wild as the wind. Their whole life, they had wanted to become strong, become a powerhouse, become a top warrior, etc. In addition, when they reached a certain level of cultivation, they could absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to replenish their body's energy, and they had neglected the enjoyment of life. For example, food. The food of this world could be said to be of very low quality. It was not the ingredients, but the cooking techniques. It was too backward, and very few people would specialize in it. To them, food was enough to fill their stomachs. Enjoy the food? Never thought of it. On the other hand, Long Fei's grilled meat won at the spiritual level. Long Fei then took out a large bunch of meat and said, "Food is used to slowly taste it. How can you taste it like this?" Phoenix giggled and said, "It's just that it's too delicious and can't be stopped at all. My honey, I didn't think that you would still have such a trick up your sleeve. You're really too awesome. Bailey Tion High said, Big brother, your movements are too ruthless. If I were a woman, I would have definitely been conquered by you. Right now, they did not care about the quality of the business at all. They only wanted to eat more of the barbecue made by Long Fei. The onlookers couldn't sit still any longer. One by one, they looked at Long Fei, and the barbecue in his hands seemed like an artistic performance. Not long later, the smell of burnt meat and meat was released, and everyone on the street could smell it. People continued to search for it. All right. Long Fei picked up the roast meat and said, This time, I'll have to taste it slowly. It will be of great benefit to your training as well. This time, Long Fei sealed all the spirit qi in the meat inside. This kind of meat could maintain the original amount of profound qi, just like the demon beast that was just slaughtered and was filled with spirit blood's meat. Bailey Tianhai tore off a piece, took a few bites, and said with his eyes wide open, This is different from before. My profound qi is even richer now. Oh my God, boss, you really are a god. He had a look of admiration on his face. At this moment, the barbecue store owner was in a very bad mood. He was nearly 2 meters tall, his waist was as thick as a bucket, and his entire body was filled with fat. As he walked forward, the ground around him trembled as he stared at Long Fei with a face full of meat. Roast meat is just roasted meat. I don't believe that you can roast flowers. With that, he walked in front of Long Fei, picked up a skewer and stuck it near his mouth, biting off all the pieces of roasted meat on the bamboo stick and chewing on it a few times. At that moment, clang, the deadening knife suddenly slipped from his hand and stabbed into the ground. It was as if he had been struck by lightning. He stood there motionlessly as a ball of fire appeared in his eyes, and the smell of roasted meat exploded in his body. That feeling, he could not find the words to describe it. Delicious, unable to express anything, he could only roar. Instantly, he looked at Long Fei and said, How can there be such a delicious barbecue? Impossible, it's just barbecue. Just a few pieces of meat with a little seasoning. How could it be so tasty? While speaking, he took another skewer from Long Fei's hand, and with another nudge, all of it entered his mouth. The spirit energy is dense, and the essence is full. This is to conserve all the energy in the demon beast meat and absorb it into your body. Exquisite. More importantly, its taste, that feeling as if its taste buds are about to explode. Heavens, how can there be such a delicacy in this world? I feel like I'm about to go to heaven. The 2-meter-tall man suddenly looked like he was gay. His expression was as gentle as water, but it was just like the fat on his body. A little evil. Just as he was about to eat the third string, Long Fei slightly withdrew it and said, 1 holy source stone is worth 10 strings. You have already eaten 2. 10 sets of holy source stones? This price is a bit scary. 5 times that of other barbecue stalls. However, the big-sized man escaped without hesitation. He said, Brother, can you teach me? Can I acknowledge you as my master? Long Fei laughed. Eating meat is fine. Taking a master is fine. The big-sized man picked up the roast meat. Even though it was right in front of him, he could not help but swallow his saliva and looked at Long Fei. Can't you give me a chance? Long Fei said, I will not accept disciples. The big man walked back to his stall with a dejected look and held 8 skewers of roasted meat in his hands. Senior brother, is it really that delicious? You can't be cooperating with his acting, right? That's right. No matter how delicious the grilled meat is, how delicious can it be? I don't believe it. One of the disciples picked up a barbecue skewer and tasted it. His eyes lit up as if he had been struck by lightning. Delicious, delicious. This is 2F** King delicious. She immediately ran in front of Long Fei and said, I want 10 strings. Having obtained the 10 sticks, he didn't stop and gobble them all up. Suddenly, a stream of energy burst out from his body, and his aura clearly rose. Ha ha! Ha! I've broken through. I'm now in the big sword sex realm. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed to Long Fei. It's been 3 years. I was trapped here for 3 years. I never thought that your roasted meat would help me break through my bottleneck. Thank you. This time, the whole night market was in an uproar. Almost everyone had swarmed in. Give me 10 strings. I want 10 as well. Me too. Is it that magical? I want 10 as well. Many people surrounded him. There weren't many people present, and many of them were still watching from the sidelines. With these people, it would be enough because after they finished eating, Long Fei believed that all the guests in the night market would come to his place. He was going to be rich. He was going to be rich. With the Holy Source Stone upgrade, there was no need to worry. Long Fei's lips curved up in a slight smile, and he said, Big idiot, Tian Hai, prepare to receive guests. Little girl, you are in charge of collecting money. Let's fight. Business was booming. Business was booming. I'm not afraid of you not buying. I'm only afraid of you not eating. If you eat it, you won't be able to escape. The first batch of people to eat the grilled meat looked like they had gone insane, their expressions even more exaggerated than Bailey Tianhai's. It was like a never-ending orgasm. It felt like flying. He had never thought that food could bring such a feeling, one that was even better than breaking through to the next realm. Another 50 strings. I'll also do 10. And me, immediately. Long Fei's barbecue stall exploded. Those disciples who had just been mocking them were now staring blankly. They couldn't be here to sell their meat for money, right? F***CK. It's just a piece of barbecue. Is it that miraculous? As he spoke, he bit down on a piece of roasted meat. His eyes immediately lit up as he wolfed down his food. Boss, I want more. Yes, I want more. All of them had gone mad. The taste was first class. In addition, the spiritual energy in the roasted meat was abnormally abundant, which was much better than eating raw. The key point was that it was delicious. Long Fei was extremely busy. Bailey Tian Hai, Zhao Dehan, and the Phoenix also busily flew into the air. The three of them had never thought that roasting meat could cause such a sensation. For hours, Long Fei did not stop for a moment. He worked even harder than he did for cultivation, as if he was in a battle. His entire body was drenched in sweat. The 4 hours were finally over. My honey, we're rich. Phoenix looked at the holy source stones in her pocket with incomparable happiness. She, who had never done anything like this, who had never earned any money, looked at these holy source stones with unspeakable happiness. The value of these holy source stones were worthless to her, but she kept them one by one. The feeling of earning money by herself was very different. Bailey Tian Hai said, In the future, we don't need to go to the inner sect anymore. We can just directly stay in the outer sect. When that time comes, we won't have as much money as the rest of the ancient antiquity. Zhao Dehan said, There's no need to starve anymore. Ha. Everyone laughed. Long Fei said, This is only the first day. It will be even better in the future. In the darkness of the night, a dozen disciples hurriedly walked over to Long Fei and the others. Without saying a word the moment they got up, they kicked the table away. Boom! The table was smashed into pieces. The remaining barbecue eaters glanced at the disciples, lowered their heads, and quickly left. They were all afraid. A disciple exclaimed, Which one of you is the boss? Long Fei was startled. Bailey Tian Hai shouted fiercely, What are you thinking of doing? He raised his sleeves and was about to rush forward to fight. Zhao Dehan was also ready. Long Fei stopped them and said indifferently, I'm the boss. Is there anything you need? If you want to eat barbecue, please hurry up tomorrow. It's already closed for business today. Close your sister. One of them kicked another table as he spoke. The leading disciple looked at Long Fei and sneered. Do you know who has shielded this street? Long Fei shook his head. I don't know. The leading disciple said, It's our brother Dao. Do you know who brother Dao is? Long Fei still shook his head. I don't know. The leading disciple laughed disdainfully. Is he afraid of the third powerhouse on the list of the 10 strongest warriors in the outer sect? Long Fei shook his head and said, No. The leading disciple glared at him. Brat, are you courting death? I just set up a stall on Brother Dao's territory. Did you pay the premium? Long Fei said, "The protection fee is right?" The head disciple said, "That's right. If we want to do business on Saber Bros territory, we must pay a protection fee. I'll beat you up every time I see you." Long Fei asked, "How much?" The leading disciple said, "Not much, just one holy source stone." Long Fei took out a holy source stone, walked forward and handed it over, and said, "For you." Long Fei did not want to cause trouble. A holy source stone was within the range that he could accept. But the leading disciple laughed, and the dozen of disciples behind him also laughed. "Ha ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha ha!" The leading disciple looked at Long Fei and said, "Brat, why do I feel that you're so cute?" As he spoke, he patted Long Fei's shoulders and said, "Are you stupid, or do you take me for a fool? When I said holy source stone, I meant that you should keep one and hand over the rest. Do you understand?" Long Fei raised his eyes, looked at the disciple, and said, "If I were you, I would have taken this holy source stone and left without a trace." He didn't want to cause trouble. However, he had never been afraid of anything. Originally, Long Fei was already very unhappy with this kind of person, but now he felt even more unhappy. The leading disciple said with a smile, "Are you threatening me, you cripple of the swordsman rank?" Before he could finish his words, Long Fei suddenly moved, grabbing his arm fiercely. Crack! The joints exploded and fractured. Without giving him any time to react, that person instantly let out a pig-slaughtering howl. The pain was excruciating. A dozen underlings behind him immediately rushed forward. Long Fei pressed the leading disciple onto the ground and stepped on his shoulder, his gaze sweeping across. "Come King and try. Let's see if I won't rip off his arm." The 10 or so lackeys were all stunned. The lead disciple anxiously said, No, don't come over, don't come up. Retreat, quick, retreat. Big brother, show mercy. I admit defeat. Let me go, I'll leave immediately." The leading disciple pleaded for mercy. Long Fei kicked it and said, "Scram." The disciple bore the pain and crawled back up, staring at Long Fei. "Brat, you mother of King, wait." Long Fei glared at him. The dozen disciples instantly ran out. Phoenix walked up to him with a smile. "My honey is so handsome." Bailey Tianhai said, "You dare to collect our protection fee? You're courting death." Phoenix looked into the darkness and immediately ran up. "Beautiful sis." Lu Luoxi slowly walked out from the darkness. Long Fei asked, "Why are you here? Isn't it time for you to find your lover?" He was probing. He wanted to know if Lu Luoxi found the person she was waiting for. Lu Luoxi laughed bitterly, but did not answer. He looked at Long Fei and asked, "What can I help you with?" Phoenix took Lu Luoxi's arm and said, "Big sister, my honey's barbecue is so delicious. I have never eaten such a delicious barbecue." Roast meat. Lu Luoxi seemed to have thought of something and said with a bland smile, "The most delicious barbecue in the world was cooked by him. No one can compare to his barbecue." "Is that so?" Long Fei was a little unwilling to accept this. He took out a skewer of roasted meat and said, "Eat and eat." Lu Luoxi initially did not want to eat it, but after smelling the fragrance of the barbecue, she casually caught it and took a small bite. Lu Luoxi suddenly looked at Long Fei. Suddenly, Lu Luoxi looked at Long Fei without moving. Her heart seemed to stop beating all at once. The smell of the roasted meat. It was exactly the same. Was there such a thing in this world? Impossible. Lu Luoxi thought about how she would be able to eat barbecue in the mountain range of God's Marshall Continent. It was also the most unforgettable barbecue in her life, but right now, it was also the same. How could this be? However, the person in front of her was not the person she was waiting for. It was completely different. Lu Luoxi's expression became complicated. Long Fei asked, "What's wrong?" Phoenix asked, "Did the delicious food scare you?" Luluashi did not continue to eat it and revealed a bitter smile. He thought to himself, perhaps it's because I miss him too much. So much so that I can't control it anymore. Even the taste of the taste buds is nostalgic. But, thinking about the word none in the Sikh mirror, Luluashi's heart twitched. It hurts. The suffocating pain. Phoenix picked up the roast meat and ate a few mouthfuls. She said, "How delicious is it? Why don't you eat it?" Long Fei looked at Luluashi's soulless appearance and said slightly, "I didn't find the person you were looking for, right?" Luluashi laughed bitterly again. Bailey Tianhai spoke up from the side. "Senior sister, where do you see such handsome men? Don't you see that the person standing in front of you is a super handsome man? I will protect you. I am a four-brain genius. There are no problems in this world that need me." When Bailey Tianhai saw Luluashi walking over, his heart almost jumped out. Looking at Long Fei, he finally understood that Long Fei was not around to do missions with him. His heart was pounding at 10,000 points. Isn't it too early to make a move? If he did not use this chance, he would not be Bailey Tianhai. Phoenix stared at Bailey Tianhai and said, "You are that ugly bastard." Bailey Tianhai did not care about the Phoenix. With a flip of his right hand, a flower appeared out of thin air, as though it was a magic trick. He passed it to Luluashi and said, "Senior sister, there is no sadness that cannot be overcome, and no one cannot forget about it." Luluashi completely ignored him. She looked at Long Fei and said indifferently, "Is there anything that I can help you with? Do you want to enter the inner sect? I'll take you into the inner sect. With your talent, it shouldn't be difficult for me to have Master take you in as a disciple." Long Fei shook his head and said, "I will enter the inner sect myself. I do not need your help." "What happened to you today?" Luluashi said, "I'm fine. Give me the mission. I promise to repay you. I, as a person, will never owe anyone else anything." "What? He gave you the task? What kind of mission is this? It can't be." Bailey Tianhai thought about the god's mission that caused a sensation in the inner and outer sections. He looked at Long Fei in a daze and said, "Damn, boss, you've really invested a lot in trying to seduce girls. That is 800 points of task credit. If you earn another 100 points, the three of us would be qualified to participate in the inner sect examination." He really put in a lot of effort. Bailey Tianhai was completely dumbfounded. 800 points really wasn't a small number, especially for them right now, which was an astronomical number. Long Fei said, "This was originally her mission. There's nothing to repay. You were the one who brought us there, and we've also learned a lot. If you really want to repay me, then eat this plate of roasted meat." Long Fei carried the plate up. Luluashi simply wasn't in the mood. In the entire sect, she owed Long Fei a favor. She was going to return it. This way she could die in peace. She had made up her mind. Waiting 100 years, now that she was no longer there was no point in her living by herself. Phoenix looked at the roasted meat on the plate and drooled. She said, "Elder sister, just eat it. If you don't, I'll eat it." "Baji, Baji." Yi Zichen gulped. Luluashi looked at Long Fei and said, "Is there really no one that I can help with?" Long Fei shook his head. "No." Luluashi smiled faintly and said, "Then I'll be going." Just as he turned to leave, a large group of people rushed out from the darkness. Their leader was the expert ranked third on the outer sect rankings, Saber No Shadow. He was nicknamed Brother Dao. He was a third-grade sword saint, and his berserker blade art was extremely sharp. "Big brother, it's him. They were the ones who hit me. He's the one who said you're worthless. If he dares to come, he'll definitely make your brother Dao into a dead dog." A few lackeys nearby added fuel to the fire. Dao Wuing walked up with a scar on his face. He stared at Long Fei and said, "Brat, you did not pay the protection fee, and even hit my little brother, right? You dog. Brothers, shatter this place for me." He gave the order. More than 20 disciples rushed up in a flash, wanting to smash this place into pieces. It was also at this time. Luluashi's gaze darkened. It was slightly cold. He took a step forward and said, "Don't move here." Dao Wuing looked at Luluashi and did not react for a moment. His eyes shone as he said, "Yo, this is the first time I see such a beautiful woman. How about accompanying me tonight?" Before he could finish his words, boom! Instantly falling to the ground, Lu Luoshi stepped on his head. That speed and power was both fast and fierce. Saber Shadow had no time to react at all. He was only a master swordsman rank, a mortal swordsman rank of Lu Luoshi's, an existence that could completely suppress his opponent. Saber Shadow refused to accept this outcome. With a heavy voice, he said, "Little girl, I think you are tired of living. You dare to attack me. Let me see if I, your father, will." Not waiting for him to finish, Lu Luoshi raised his leg and hacked down heavily. Dao Wuying spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Dao Wuying finally realized that this woman's cultivation level was much higher than his, so his body couldn't help but shiver. One of the lackeys said, Yes, it's the senior sister. It's Sword Elf Mountain, the goddess of the Sword Elf Mountain. It's her." Inner sect disciples could beat them to shit, and with the addition of the great senior sister of the Sword Elf Mountain, they would be even more afraid and directly kneel on the ground. Dao Wuying did not even dare to breathe loudly, and cursed in his heart. What the hell? Why would an inner sect senior sister be in this kind of place at such a late night? Lu Luoshi coldly snorted. "Did you hear what I just said? If you dare to even touch them, I'll immediately take your lives." His words were laced with killing intent. Killing an outer disciple in the intersect world was too easy. No one would take responsibility for it. Dao Wuying replied, Yes. I dare not to do that again." Lu Luoshi growled, "Scram!" Saber Shadow crawled and rolled his way out, hating that this old lady only had 2 legs left. Lu Luoshi looked at Long Fei and said, "I'll return the favor I owe you." Finished. She strode into the darkness. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.